And good morning. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Pleasant night at the ballpark last night, as it probably should be when you face the White Sox. Obviously more exciting because Grayson Rodriguez looks great and hopefully is defying any thought that innings could be an issue. Remains to be seen. It's always that sort of thing that's in the back of my mind. I wish I had the ability. Somebody tells me it's the Virgo in me. We have entered Virgo season, by the way. Big time for your pal. Have a birthday coming up. Number redacted.
I think I know what it is.
I've been telling everybody all year how old I am, and I'm not actually haven't been that age yet.
I'm still not positive, but I think I know.
No, but it's the nice part about having a later in the year birthday is that like you just start adjusting to the age that you're about to be. So by this point, somebody's like, "Dude, is it messing with you? You're about to turn 40." I'm like, I've been telling people I've been 40 for a year. I've felt 40 since January, so now who cares? It's over. All of my friends turned 40 this year. I've been to like 8 different 40th birthday parties, events of some sort. Man, this is nice now. Like now it's just like, oh, right, you weren't even 40. You were just a liar. So I'm good. I'm totally good with it. But the Virgo in me is the guy, like I'm not capable of just shutting off the other part of my brain. Like I have to think about the other thing. So like when everybody else is just able to unapologetically enjoy and revel in Grayson Rodriguez's success, I'm the guy that's just like, yeah, but like, is he going to have enough in the arm that you can pitch him in October? Like, that's all I can think about in those moments. And does that make me a bad person? I don't know. I think there are other things that might make me a bad person, so maybe that one's not the one. But it was great. He was brilliant. 1 hit over 6 innings, 2 base runners in 6 innings. May it forever be that way, even when they face the real teams. No offense. I would like that to also be the case when they face actual baseball teams. Orioles get a half game on the Rays. Now you say, okay, well, that's only because the Rays were off. But the good news is we've talked about this a few times, right? Like the Orioles have had the games in hand. So this is one of those games in hand that they've had. Who do you think's calling? What's area code 440?
440.
Where's 440?
That's not Pennsylvania.
That sounds like Pittsburgh, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Is Pittsburgh calling? Is
I know
Merrill
they're
Hodge calling me?
It is northeast Ohio.
Northeast Ohio.
So around Cleveland.
Who would be calling from Cleveland? What do you think is going on out there that somebody needs to get in touch with me? It's gone now.
Guardians with you, I guess.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I
couldn't tell you. Moral of the story is the Orioles get a win, and because they had the games in hand, that is the sort of the thing now. There's only 1 game in hand left against the Rays. So the Rays have played 132 games. The Orioles have now played 131 games. So remember, that was back when we were like, well, the Orioles are tied in the loss column. We were like, you can make up. We call that tied because you can make it up. If you win all the games that you have in hand, you control your own destiny. Well, those games are dwindling. So there's now 1 left in hand. But that's important because if the Rays don't cool off, you need to make sure you win those games in hand in order to get that extra game advantage. And so the Orioles got a half game last night. And as of the moment, they're 2.5 games up on Tampa in the AL East as they continue the series this evening. Coming up in a few minutes, speaking of the White Sox, our friend Gavin Sheets is going to join us. I almost didn't want to call Gavin this time. Like, there was a part of me that said, oh, man, it's been brutal. But what I know about Gavin is, like, he's going to answer every question as best as he possibly can and talk about what it's like to experience a season like this where, you know, it's been a struggle not just for him but for everyone out there. And it's been an ungodly struggle. But we'll talk about it with Gavin Sheets. We'll also let him tell us what it's like to face Grayson Rodriguez, and I think that'll be a fun thing to talk about because we're very excited about Grayson Rodriguez. Also this morning, we will catch up with Nathan Ruiz, the Baltimore Sun. Nathan wrote a piece yesterday, and I referenced it when we were talking to David Sampson. His column was about, the premise was John Angelos should stop talking, or here are some other things he could do instead. And what I said yesterday with David Sampson is I disagree about the premise that John Angelos should stop talking. I know you're going to say, what? Why would you disagree with that? But I mean this in general. I'll always want transparency. I'll always want the people in those positions to talk as much as possible. I think the message is the wrong message, but I'll always want transparency. Even if the message is the wrong message, I'd rather be told about it than it be being done in secret. But every other point that Nathan Ruiz made in the column is something that I agree with, so we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. And also coming up today, our buddy Gregg Rosenthal, you know him from the NFL Network. He and I used to do a podcast together called Courts of Thunder, so we're really going to talk about the U.S. Open. But I guess if we must, we'll mention something related to the Ravens. I don't even know what that would be because, Lord, I did my regular hit down in Kansas City yesterday, and I just assumed it was going to be about Felix Bautista's injury. I was like, all right. When they asked, I said, okay, I get it. You know, that's a pretty big story. And then my buddy Seren Pedro brought up the Ravens' preseason win streak. I was like, why?
And you were devastated.
Why would you care? Why would any human care? Why is this something we're discussing?
They made a lot of money for a lot of people, I think.
Love Seren. All right, today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. I don't really have much else to say from last night. I really don't. Grayson Rodriguez was phenomenal, as Jeremy Kahn joked about yesterday. The White Sox appear to be in the 3-2-1 Cancun mode. So it is the tough part. I don't want to say that I'm not judging anything the Orioles do against bad. There's a saying that we in the tennis community, I put myself in the tennis, folks like me who are very involved in the tennis community.
Country club and
there's a saying that you can't win the U.S. Open in the first week. You can only lose the U.S. Open in the first week. So, like last night when Coco Gauff struggled in her first-round match at the U.S. Open, the saying is that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you can't play well enough in the first round to win the tournament. The only thing that happens is that you can lose. So all that matters is, did you advance? That's how the saying goes. And I would compare it to these games the Orioles are playing against bad baseball teams. The only thing that can happen is bad. Nothing really good can come from it. You have to win these games. If you take the A's series, the Rockies series, the disappointing part about the Rockies series is you lost a game. And I know that seems an unreasonable measurement that you losing one game could be a problem, but this is where you're at. You're trying to win the AL East against a Rays team that won't quit. Losing one game against the Rockies is extraordinarily disappointing. You can't really, and I hate that because it feels like I'm moving the goalposts, but nothing that can happen in these series is going to give me more confidence about what the Orioles can do come the postseason. Fujinami can make great pitches in these games. Until I see Fujinami come up in a big spot against a good baseball team with leverage, I'm not going to assume that I can count on him in a leverage spot against a good baseball team. I can't gain anything in a measurement. Now, if it continues trends, well, that's a different thing. If Grayson Rodriguez had struggled for his last few starts and then pitched really well against the White Sox last night, I would be far more dismissive of it. I'd be much more in a place where I would say, yeah, I got to see that against a real lineup. But that's not the case, right? Grayson Rodriguez has pitched quite well since he came back. This was probably the easiest matchup that Grayson Rodriguez has had because it feels like every time he's been out, he's had to face a viable ace Cy Young candidate type of pitcher until last night. Not that Kopech is a bad pitcher, but he ain't. I can't remember the names that he had. It was absurd, the list of guys.
It was like Garrett Cole and then.
Yeah, Gausman.
Yeah.
Was it Gausman?
It
was the other one. It was.
I know. Why can't I think of the other Toronto ace?
God.
It wasn't Barrios, was it?
No,
Maybe
it wasn't Barrios. That was Wednesday.
Was it Ryu? No.
Who started last Tuesday? We can figure this out. You've got the internet. But it seemed like that's who Grayson Rodriguez was facing. This was a bit of a respite, for sure, in comparison. But Grayson Rodriguez, it was following a trend. But if someone gets going, if a bat gets going in a series like this, I'm still going to say the same thing. I kind of need to see it against a real team. And I hate, because it feels, again, like I'm saying, that nothing good can happen in these series.
It's kind of a break. You got Kikuchi.
I mean, Kikuchi's pretty good, dude. Let's not pretend.
That's kind of the break, though.
Well, I guess, in comparison to the others, maybe. But Kikuchi's numbers have been pretty outstanding this season.
Then it was Snell, I think, in San Diego.
Yeah, that sounds right. That does sound right.
Yeah, no, it was Darvish.
Oh, was it Darvish?
Yeah, I think it was.
Whatever. All I know is it felt like he was facing a Cy Young candidate or ace. Yeah, right. Somehow he pitched 2 days in the San Diego series. It just really felt that way for a little while. But I hate saying that. I hate saying that I can't take anything out of it because you got to play these games too. And at the beginning of the year, this would have been far more exciting. But we are where we are. Expectations are what they are. The Astros series was one that was a measurement. This probably isn't a measurement. I would like to hope not anyway. I hope the Rocky series wasn't a measurement. I think we're at a point where we have moved the goalposts, where expectations being what they are, you want to see a little bit more. And so because of that, it's hard for me to get worked up. I think I like the trend with Anthony Santander. I think I'm willing to buy that Anthony Santander has worked through what his issues were sitting out for a few days. I think I'm good with Anthony Santander being back to being a credible threat in the middle of the lineup. But otherwise, it's just win the games. I can't learn anything about this bullpen right now. I'm sorry, I can't. I wish they were shutting down, insert team name here, the Rangers, the Rays. I wish that was the case, because then I would turn around and say, okay, this might work. But getting outs against the White Sox and the Rockies doesn't really tell me a ton about whether or not this bullpen can hold up through the gauntlet of playoff baseball. You got to do both things. You got to handle your business in these games. You can't give away games. It's why, again, Sunday was disappointing. If I take out the Blue Jays and I just look at the A's, Rockies, and White Sox, I would say the Orioles are 6-1 in those games, and that to me is a disappointing record. And it's unfair. It's unfair for that to be the case. And if they get through those 3 series and they go 8-1, that's probably okay. But losing any of these games could end up haunting you. It's just the reality. May it continue. May they not stub their toes anymore at all, and then they get back out on the road.
Go undefeated the rest of the season.
No, I mean against these types of teams.
Right.
Like, I can accept things when you're facing better teams. But against these teams, I get it. It's baseball. Those teams still try. They still go out, we think. They still go out and give effort. But if losing even a game to a team like that could end up being the difference in you winning the division.
They clearly do try. Luis Robert, I mean.
Yeah, that was a heck of a play. There's no doubt about that, man. That was
he was the only one that did show up, I think.
Yeah, I mean, after who was it that completely missed the cutoff man and allowed
whoever was in right field?
Right? Yeah, I can't remember. Oh God, please tell me, was it Gavin? Oh no, I wasn't paying attention because it was a trivia last night.
It was Oscar Colas.
Okay. Thank God.
Oscar Colas.
Very awkward. Would have been very
Gavin
awkward.
was playing first.
I was only barely. I was at trivia last night. I was watching the game. I just wasn't paying full attention. And basically all the game was last night was Joan Jett, right?
Yeah.
It was Joan Jett. Hey, here's some Joan Jett. Now baseball. I don't blame him. Joan Jett's awesome. It doesn't disappoint me at all. The other story, of course, today is the day for the Ravens to get down to 53 men. As a lot of people have pointed out, bear in mind that there will probably be moves that will be announced today that could ultimately end up just being placeholders until somebody gets moved to a list. The kind of big questions right now are guy Tyus Bowser. As you know, we're bringing back the Tyus Bowser show for Season 3, and we're very excited about that. I'll be giving you some more details about that in the coming days, but I assume we'll get clarity in the next 24 hours about whether or not Tyus Bowser will start the season on the active roster, or if he'll have to miss the first 4 weeks. I guess reporters that were in Owings Mills yesterday saw Tyus was working out for the first time, and so that would be a nice sign. And, the Ravens have to measure, like, if they think he's going to miss week 1, do they want to put him on PUP, or, like, do they believe that he could be back by week 2? And if that's the case, they don't want to have him miss the first 4 games if he could have played 3 of them. It's a tricky thing when you're trying to set a final roster. Nothing yesterday was significant. Yesterday was kind of some obvious moves. I will admit, selfishly, when you see, and again, I'm not going to pretend like I watched the game on Saturday night because Lord knows I did not do that. But I did see the Dante Demas highlights, and all of us that watched Dante Demas play in college were like, right, yes, that's what he can do. Why was he not drafted? Why is he not more sought after? The belief is that Rakim Jarrett's going to make the roster in Tampa. Dante Demas is a playmaker. Now, I get it. There was no room on this roster for Dante Demas. They had a crunch for the first time ever at wide receiver. Dante Demas probably would have made a good number of past Ravens teams. Like, most of them. But this wasn't the one. Because this was the year the Ravens brought in some wide receivers. And there just weren't jobs to be. I mean, Shamar Bridges was a guy that, like, a lot of people liked in the last couple of years. He never really had a chance to make this roster this year either. Dante Demas is a guy that I would love to see the Ravens be able to protect on the practice squad, but I just wonder if the talent is enough that someone will look at Dante Demas and try to give him a shot. We'll see. I would love to see him stick around because I just selfishly, I think that Dante Demas is a good football player.
I guess it was the injury in 2021.
Yeah, that really hurt him. It really derailed him. I mean, there was a time where before
he was leading the Big Ten, I think, at the time.
Yep. Of course, that was in the Iowa game on a Friday night. But that's selfish. Like, I happen to have seen a lot of Dante Demas, and I think very highly of him as a football player. But I get it. I'm not trying to suggest that I think the Ravens made a mistake of any sort. I understand they just never had a spot on their roster. It was never there. I'm not as enamored with Nelson Aguilar as everyone else is, but I get it. Is a veteran. Should you deal with injuries at the top, it's nice to have a veteran receiver to play instead of having to pick somebody off the scrap heap and hope that Des Bryant excuse me, somehow has something in him at 40 years old or whatever. I understand why they find some value in Nelson Aguilar. I'm not as enamored with Nelson Aguilar as other people are, but I get it. I understand the thought process. We'll see about the other things. As I said before, I would be kind of surprised at this point if Keaton Mitchell isn't on the team, but at the same time, if the Ravens said, we don't have 4 spots for running backs on this roster, I would also be forced to understand that.
Is there room for Patrick Ricard, do you think?
I would be surprised, too, if Patrick Ricard is not on the roster at this point. I get it. There's a reason why we've had the conversation, but his versatility, and as Bo Smolka has pointed out a couple times we talked to him about it, there's no benefit to trying to save money on Patrick Ricard right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I say that, they do like to have more cap flexibility into the season should there be a trade that they would like to make. So maybe they'll find that to be a benefit. I do think that's tricky, too. As much as we like Keaton Mitchell, I hate saying it, there's a lot of Keaton Mitchells around the NFL. There's a lot of backs that are young and talented and in a roster crunch. I like Keaton Mitchell. Everybody that watched Keaton Mitchell play in college said that's an NFL player. But if the decision came down to one or the other, I'm going to be inclined to say I'm keeping Patrick Ricard because I know how Patrick Ricard can help in certain situations. I think Keaton Mitchell might be helpful. And I like him, and I like the idea, I know it's been brought up, that with two running backs whose futures are uncertain, I get it. But at the same time, practically, Justice Hill kind of is Keaton Mitchell for this team. So I just don't know what that looks like. I'm not saying that I don't want him here. I'm saying I would understand if the Ravens ultimately looked at a roster crunch and said, well, we need an extra cornerback or we need whatever it is, and because of that, we just don't have room for this player. There's no justification for keeping Melvin Gordon, for example. Just no world. No offense. Nice enough guy. But there's no that would be insane if the Ravens kept Melvin Gordon. I'm saying I think Keaton Mitchell's on the team, but if there's only 3 running backs on the team, I'll also understand that because it's hard to get to 53. Inevitably, to get to 53, you got to give up on somebody you like. There's just no way around it. The offensive line thing that we keep talking about, where they might say to themselves, we're not comfortable moving on from either Mustipher or Ben Cleveland. And if that's the case, then someone else has to go. And as we know, there tend to be offensive line injuries aplenty, and so you like having the depth that you can actually plug somebody in that you trust in those spots. We'll see. Those moves will be made throughout the day today as the Ravens get down to 53. But again, even this, whatever they announce, there will probably still be some adjustments to be made to the roster. Somebody will be getting released, but it'll be like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge released, and then they'll be brought back after that. Don't forget, Glenn Clark 23 is the code. GLENNCLARK. I know my name. CLARK. Glenn Clark 23 is the code. Sign up with Superbook. Use that code, and you will get your first bet matched up to $250, win or lose. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23. Maybe go make some tennis bets today. I have to think about it, but I'd have to look at the numbers for Alcaraz because I don't know what the spread is in that match off the top of my head, but I'm guessing that given the fact that he lost the final in Cincinnati, he's going to have something to prove tonight, and I'd probably bet Alcaraz to cover the spread tonight. So that's a bet for you. Go make it, and if you lose, no sweat, no worries. If you use that code, you're getting your money right back. White Sox are in town. Whenever the Orioles take on the White Sox, we always try to catch up with a friend of ours, of course, an Orioles legacy and White Sox slugger, Gilman alum. He is our buddy Gavin Sheets, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Gavin, it's Glenn. It's always great to catch up, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Always enjoy getting on with you guys.
You have any opinions about like the Ravens as they try to put the final roster spots together? Is there anybody that you fell in love with during the preseason?
I fell in love with a couple guys. I think they're all safe. You know, I'm excited about Flowers. I think that he's going to bring some fun to this offense, and especially for Lamar having that little deep threat as well. So, man, I'm excited. It's best time of the year coming up, football season, the fall. So it's going to be fun.
Do you guys have a fantasy football league on the White Sox?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We've got our draft coming up in I think September 2nd. So
okay.
Everybody's geared up for that. You know, I got to get Justin Tucker in the 8th or 9th round as always, and get the X Factor on the team.
All right. So are you the guy that does it every year? You have to get the first, because you got to get Justin Tucker, and then everyone in the league boos like, "Oh, are you kidding me, Homer? Are you that guy?"
Absolutely. I'm the guy that gets the X Factor on the team every year.
Oh man, it's funny. I always talk about that around here. You actually have an advantage. We were talking the other day. Because the tight end position stinks this year. Like it's just there's like 3 guys, and then it's a complete drop off after that point. And I was talking to our fantasy guy here, and I said, and then the funny thing is now because I went through tight end hell last year, I can see myself trying to reach to get my tight end, but in Baltimore you can't do that because inevitably somebody is taking Mark Andrews in the 2nd round. It's just the way that it's going to go. You can't even reach for Mark Andrews because he's already gone. So I feel like you have an inherent advantage because you have the ability to be that guy playing in a league based, in Chicago, where there's not going to be the same desire to reach for a homer pick.
Absolutely. I've got a league with my high school buddies, and it's amazing how much earlier those guys go.
Right.
You get Andrews and Lamar and Zay Flowers, they're going, and then my Chicago league, I know that I got a pretty safe call with Flowers still being on the board for me.
This is going to work out perfect for you. You're going to be able to, you're not going to have to do the bit where at the end of the draft you're like, oh, do I really take Tyler Boyd? I don't want to root for him. I don't want the Bengals to do well this year. It's always very difficult.
Exactly.
Hey man, first of all, thank you for not hitting 3 home runs last night like you usually do when you come here. Thank you for that. I know I know you would have preferred to have done that, but just a personal thank you for not murdering us every time you come back. Can you take me through facing Grayson? Right, like we are overwhelmed here by what we've seen of late, and we're genuinely believing that this guy might be the ace that everyone told us that he is. Seeing his stuff and being in the box against him, what jumped out about him to you?
Yeah, it's funny. We faced him in April or May early in the season, and we actually had a pretty good game against him. And, it was right before. I think he had a couple more outings and then got sent down and figured some things out. But, what I saw last night was a different guy than we saw in April and May. Obviously, my first at bat, he was up to 101 and just a lot of life. But, to me, it was his changeup, the way it was working last night. And, I think that he's really coming into his own, and he really threw the ball well last night.
Yeah, we were really happy about it. I know. Yeah, it was two sides of the coin, understanding that. But, boy, we were really happy about what we had seen from him. Gavin, I can't even imagine, right? Like, I know it's been difficult all around. It's been difficult for the team. It's been difficult for you. I also know what kind of guy you are, and I know that faith is a really important thing for you. How do you handle it, right? Like when you have team goals, personal goals, and things don't go the way that you want them to go. How have you handled a season like this and the trials and tribulations that you've been through?
Yeah, it's been tough. I've kind of seen every aspect of in the last 3 years the White Sox. Obviously in 21, we were one of the best teams in the American League and went to the playoffs. And last year we were 500, and this year we're obviously well under 500. And it's just you learn from each stage that you learn what it takes to be a playoff team in 21. You learn this year what it takes, what you need to change, and how you build a better culture, and how you go through times like this. So you just try to take a learning thing from each aspect of it. And it's funny, my rookie year when we got 8 or 9 years in the big leagues, and he never played in the playoffs. And he's like, as easy as it seems right now, he's like, playoff teams don't come every year. And he's like, you need to enjoy every second of it. And I understand that even more right now. You don't understand in the moment, but even more right now when you look back and you realize that was only 2 or 3 years ago, it's pretty crazy how things can change so fast in sports.
Do you ever – Gavin Sheets is with us, of course, in the White Sox as they get ready for Game 2 against the Orioles tonight. Does it ever become like, do you start worrying about, hey, am I going to be a part of this moving forward? Where am I going to be? Like, what's the direction of the team going to end up looking like? How I am, I think I was talking about earlier, I'm a Virgo, so like I worry about everything constantly. I'm overwhelmed by these types of things. Are you capable of just blocking all of that type of stuff out and saying, I'm going to worry about like facing Dean Kramer? That's going to be the only thing that I think about.
Yeah, I think that's just, the human element where, you start to think about things that you can't control. And, obviously we lost our GM and our president just a couple weeks ago. And, I think everybody's kind of got that thought of what direction are we headed in, and are we going to be a part of this? And, but at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control. And that's what I try to focus on. And, obviously in a time like this, season like this, everybody's kind of scattered and looking different directions and, thinking about themselves. So it's definitely a weird time. But at the end of the day, you can just control what you can control.
Is there a part of you that still has to be like, dude, you are playing professional baseball. Like, just stop worrying about anything else.
Absolutely. You get super frustrated and, obviously you want to win at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing. But, no matter how frustrated you get or whatnot, you still have to remember that, you're still living the dream that you had as a kid. And, I think at the end of the day, that's got to be your mindset, and you know, kind of brings you back to reality of what you're doing.
When you come home, do you spend time like at home, or you're 27 now? I'm not doing any of that stuff.
I do. I still come home. You know, see the family. Everybody comes into town, so you know, a lot of it is just seeing people I haven't spent time with for, you know, about a year, or a little under a year. So, you know, it's good to be able to see some relatives and, you know, the nieces. And so it's always nice
cool.
to kind of get out of a hotel for a little bit and just enjoy the family time.
Do you feel, like, knowing how many people are there to see, do you feel any pressure about that? Like, dude, I might want to swing out of my shoes once and just see if I can. Do you feel any of that?
Yeah, I think especially in the first 2 years, you know, now I look forward to it more than, you know, get nervous or whatever. You know, I think the first couple of years, especially rookie year, was a lot, knowing that I was coming here and all the people that were here, and now it's just something I just look forward to. You know, I enjoy the series for sure, coming back home and seeing familiar faces, and so yeah, now it's just something I really look forward to.
What about, how's your relationship with your dad evolve? Because, like, obviously your dad is a coach. Like, it's in his nature. It's in his blood. Does he still, I'm sure that was a huge part of your relationship. Clearly, I know it was a huge part of your relationship. But, like, does that still continue when you're 3 years into a major league career, or at some point do you text back like, "Thanks, bud, love you, I got it"? Like, how does that work?
You know, we definitely have you know, both of those interactions. You know, sometimes it's, hey, I got it under control, and sometimes it's me reaching out to him, and you know, but that's the fun part. We've got a tremendous relationship, obviously, and you know, we can have whatever conversation we need to have, and you know, obviously I reach out to him a bunch and, you know, see what he thinks of certain at bats or certain pitchers. And you know, I was on deck last night talking about Rodriguez to him when he's on the, you know, sitting there in the front row, and I was just looking, I was like, man, his fastball's taking off tonight. So, you know, we had those kind of player coach conversations and father-son conversations as well. So
that's cool.
It's a great relationship.
That's cool, man. Like, just the thought of that. Like, I don't know if you ever pinch yourself a little bit, but you're sitting there in the on-deck circle at the ballpark that you grew up watching baseball at, talking to your dad. Like, I know that it's old hat now, like, you've been around for a little while, but I still got to believe there's a part of that that's got to give you, like, some sort of, you know, I don't know, it's got to mean something.
No doubt, and that's what's so much fun about this series. It's like, it just brings it back all back to perspective. And, you know, you're back in a stadium that you grew up in, and you know, I get to see him sitting there in the front row, and it's really the only series that's like that throughout a season. You know, so it really doesn't get old when you're only coming here 3 or 4 games a year, and so it's still always a lot of fun to come here.
All right, what about let's critique yourself, right? Like, what would you say the biggest thing that maybe has been a little bit off this season for you personally, other than the team situation, that you think, like, I know that this is where something went wrong. Give me your biggest critique of yourself for this season.
For me, it would just be consistency. You know, just not putting together consistent slugging, and you know, some of that's been not getting consistent reps, but you know, a lot of that is just, you know, being able to have consistency, consistent at bats, and driving the ball a little bit better. You know, obviously, I think that's something that's down a little bit this year for me, and you know, something I'm definitely gonna work on this off season and get back to it next year.
What are you off the tee these days? Like, so if you go out and, like, played with Forrester this week, what are you off the tee anymore?
I'm about 330 off the tee right now.
Yeah.
So once October comes around, it turns into golf season again. So,
but yet you come back. This is always what confuses me about you. You come back here. Like, why wouldn't you go to Arizona, man? Like, why wouldn't you be somewhere where you could actually play? Are you a psycho like Forrester is, and do you go out and, like, play in December and January?
Oh yeah, as long as there's a 4 to start the number and the temperature, I'm usually out there in December and January. You know, I just closed on a new house that's over by Hunt Valley Golf Course where I play. So,
okay.
So I'll be out there. I'll be out there a bunch. That's for sure.
So
as long as it's not windy, I'm out there.
The irony is, I too am a member at Hunt Valley Golf Course, but only for the
Really?
pool. Only for the pool, Gavin. Like, I assure you, I am a terrible golfer. I am god-awful. So you will not be seeing us out there. But if you were stopping by this week while you were home, you might see two little kids that were jumping around in the pool. And that's my membership for Hunt Valley Golf Club. Just a pool membership. Oh, man, it's that bad. Hey, again, before I let you go, I remember talking to you about this when the Orioles were out in Chicago. But, you know, as you've seen what you've seen in Chicago, you've also seen from afar how things have turned here. How impressed have you been, like, by watching this nucleus, this group of guys, and the way that they have come together, and how truly formidable this team is that you're up against this week?
Yeah, you know, first and foremost, it's the clubhouse that they have. You know, I think that they've got a winning culture. They play the game extremely hard. You know, it's a really good group of young guys mixed in with a really good group of veterans. You know, when I was fortunate enough to play a little bit with James McCann, and when you got a guy like that and Gibson and, you know, a couple of veterans, Frazier, that can really keep together a good nucleus in the clubhouse, and then you mix that in with the young talent that they have, you know, it's a really good formula. And so to come back here and, you know, I've obviously heard from my dad about, you know, the way Baltimore's rallied around and Camden Yards is filling up again. It's cool to see because, you know, obviously I've been here the last few years where, you know, it's a little bit different. And it's, you know, credit to Elias because he's really done a really good job.
It's as you can imagine, it is a very exciting time for us here. At some point in the future, we'd love to maybe have a few Gavin Sheets at bats in the other color. We just I know we don't want to. I don't know how tampering works. I'm not sure what the rules are for all of that, but I'll just put it out there. And then, what do you have to get while you're home? Like, what's one? Like, is there somewhere you go for a crab cake or something like that? Like every time you come home.
Yeah, it's easy. It's always crab cake, some kind of crab. You know, we did a dinner at Jimmy's Seafood the other night. I always enjoy going there, and yeah, it's getting home and getting some good seafood.
That's awesome. Do you take the other guys with you when you go? Do you say like, hey man, I'm gonna teach you how to crabs?
Yeah, we did. We did a full team dinner the other night at Jimmy's Seafood. So they were gracious enough to host us, and we had a great time. We had. Obviously, the crabs were out and all the seafood, and yeah, it's
That's
good
awesome.
time.
That's awesome, man. At Clean Sheets 24 on Twitter is how you follow him. Remind me what it is on Instagram, Gavin.
G Sheets 24 on Instagram.
Same thing, dude. Always appreciate you, man. Rooting for you. Please take it easy on us the next couple of nights. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Not 8 home runs over the course of the next 2 nights. Thanks.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I don't know about you, but I'll take that.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you hopping on, man.
Fun as always. Thank you.
Gavin Sheets, Gilman alum, of course, with the Chicago White Sox. Obviously, it's been a tough year for them, for him, but you know, he is such a good dude, and I really appreciate the fact that he said yes anyway, which I would have understood. I said that to Griffin. I literally texted him, said, look, man, I love Gavin. I think there's a chance that maybe just, you know, it's kind of tumultuous in Chicago. I wouldn't be surprised if he just said,
Yeah, he says the same thing he always does. He says, absolutely.
No, he's the nicest guy in the world. I mean, if you're willing to be friends with Drew Forrester, I mean, come on. Like, there's almost no one you're not willing. Like, you know, like that. If you're going that far down the. Appreciate Gavin. Great dude. All right, when we come back in, I want to talk about Nathan Ruiz's column. He's going to join us to talk about why he thinks John Angelos should either stop talking or offers a suggestion of a path, and I agree with the path. Also, it was a big night. Well, we actually tied for – no, we finished in second. We did not win trivia last night. We lost by 2 points. But your boy stumbled his way into the answer for the final question.
Oh, okay.
One of the dumbest. I will give you the question. There's zero chance you know the answer.
I mean,
but I'll run it by you anyway.
It's probably a chance.
We'll see how it goes. Do that next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey Birdland, the next time you visit Camden Yards, stop by the brand new Superbook Bar and Restaurant, the first ever sports lounge at Oriole Park. The Superbook Bar and Restaurant is open to all fans once the gates open for each game. Enjoy first-rate food and beverage with a state-of-the-art viewing experience, including newly installed TVs, odds boards, and sports tickers. Get your game tickets now, then stop in for a 360-degree sports experience. Learn more at Orioles.com/Superbook.
Hike to new heights. The best view is yours in Washington County. Our iconic scenic overlooks provide some of the most breathtaking vistas in the Mid-Atlantic. Some are very easy walks, some can be driven to, and some are the payoff for a moderate to difficult hike. All are near quaint small towns that offer great dining, shopping, hiking gear, and more. Explore our 5 national parks for iconic vistas and wineries with breathtaking views. Visit our quaint historic towns and make your stay unforgettable. Learn more at visithagerstown.com. Maryland, be open.
America's biggest bike race returns to Maryland Sunday, September 3rd as 120 of the world's best cyclists race the Maryland Cycling Classic presented by United Healthcare. Come enjoy the free fan zones and festival with interactives, food, and drink beginning at noon. Then see the exciting race conclusion from 3 to 5 p.m. in the Inner Harbor. Come be loud, be proud, and let the world hear you. For more information, go to marylandcyclingclassic.us.
Soak up summertime fun in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouth-watering eats, and endless entertainment. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards. Pick crabs by the waterfront. Beat the heat inside a world-class museum and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
You feel that? That's the sound of football coming back, and now's the time to place your preseason bets with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the most trusted name in Vegas, and now you can use my promo code GlennClark23 to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code GlennClark23. All one word, no spaces, 2 N's in Glenn. Don't miss out this football season. Win some money with Superbook Sports and that promo code GlennClark23. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I'm Michael Jangrandi, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
Maryland drivers, did you know you can save up to 77% on tolls with an Easy Pass Maryland discount plan? That's right, 77%. It's never been easier. Pick the plan that's right for you at driveezmd.com. We'll keep you moving.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand. Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
If you missed it last night, Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson got together, or late yesterday afternoon. You can find it right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to youtube.com/PressBoxOnline. Wait, no, it's youtube.com. Man, why do I do this to myself? It's youtube.com/PressBoxSports. Or PressBox. Which one is it? The hell has happened to me? Why am I suddenly PressBox Online? It is PressBox Online. YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Yeah.
And then PressBoxOnline.com/video. One of these days, man, I'm going to clean this all up. Everything's going to be fine. We're only 10 years in. One of these days.
Then you'll make that. Then you'll make the turn.
YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. Just all of a sudden had like a panic attack in the middle of saying it. Is that the right website? Have I been guiding people to the wrong place forever? youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video in order to check that out. Only one sports question at trivia last night, which is always disappointing.
So you were basically useless,
yeah. I guess it was. I would have assumed it would have been one that everybody would have gotten. I don't think everybody got it. I think most people got it, but not everybody. Named since 2001, since the start of the 2001 season, who are the only two MLB teams to have won at least 3 World Series titles?
The Red Sox.
Yes.
And why is that 3 World Series titles?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Why can't I? The Giants.
The Giants, yes, of course.
Okay.
Those are the two.
Yeah.
Those are the two. The final was where my finest work was done. And this is one of those things where I learned that, like, I just have a bizarre set of things that I filed away. I don't know how to explain photosynthesis. I couldn't tell someone what the difference is between stalactites and stalagmites. Like, I know one of them goes one way, the other. I don't know. And then he's always supposed to, they hang on tight, right? But, like, so that means the stalactites are the ones that hang down, right? Or do they hang with all their might?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember. I never remember which ones are stalactites and which ones are stalagmites. And that might be useful. I might need that at some point, but I don't know.
Will you?
Yeah, that's a good question. But I did know the answer to this one, which is weird. The final question last night was, winner of the 1940 Pulitzer Prize for Fiction.
Ah, yes.
Which novel's title was suggested by the author's wife, who recalled the phrase in the lyrics to the Battle Hymn of the Republic?
What? Sounds like
I knew the answer to this.
What?
Yes.
All right, let's see. Watched Oppenheimer.
But now I assure you, it's not because I knew who the 1940 Pulitzer Prize winner was for fiction. It was because I know the lyrics to the Battle Hymn of the Republic. And I thought everybody did. So I said to the table, I was like, wait, sing the Battle Hymn of the Republic. And they all looked at me like,
the Battle Hymn of the Republic?
What?
Sounds like something from Star Wars. Like
no, you know. It's a.
Do I? I mean, I know it.
You should. It'd be weird if you don't know the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Now,
what Republic?
You might not know all the Battle Hymn of the Republic ends. The chorus is glory, glory, hallelujah.
Okay.
Glory, glory,
I guess I know
hallelujah. That's the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and the the verse is, mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is
trampling. You just knew this.
Well, I didn't know every word, but I knew enough to get to the title of. It's in the second line of the song.
Okay.
It's in the. If you had asked me for something from the second verse,
the third line
would not have happened. But the second line of it's my eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored.
Wow. And that's the answer. Wow.
That's the answer.
Well
and,
done.
And I didn't know that. I just said, what is the likelihood?
It's great.
That there's another book title in the lyrics of the Battle Hymn of the Republic. What is the likelihood of that being the case?
So you got it.
So
did they all listen to you?
Yeah. In fact, like they made me feel better about. I was like, because I thought everybody was gonna be like, oh yeah, but nobody else knew the lyrics to the Battle Hymn of the Republic. I was like, really?
So the other teams did.
Unfortunately, the team that was 2 points ahead of us, also knew the lyrics. So they stayed in front of us. They did win. We settled for second last night.
What an easy sports question too.
Yeah, it's always really disappointing when you're the sports guy on the team. Is that you really like it to be something that no one else.
Did anyone not get the World Series question?
Yeah, I do think there were a couple. I think it was like 50% of teams got it, 60%. I think some people just wrote down, because I do remember her saying it's not the Yankees, and she always says that when like a bunch of people have written down the same answer.
Gotcha.
So I think a few people wrote down the Yankees just because they remembered the Yankees winning a bunch of World Series,
90s,
but didn't know that it was between 96 and 2000 that they won all of those. So worked out for your pal that at least a couple of teams didn't get it, but it would have been nice if it was a slightly more difficult question. Those are much better for me. Then but I always also waver on that because sometimes they get extraordinarily difficult. Like, name every NBA player that scored 60 points in a game last year, and you're like, I don't pay that much attention. I don't.
Lillard did.
Yeah, Lillard did.
Luka. I think Luka had to. No, maybe he didn't.
Donovan Mitchell, I think, did.
Yeah.
Because we got
Booker did.
We got that question, and I think I got them all, but I don't remember. was very, very, it was overwhelming. It was very annoying. So yeah, those are very frustrating to me. But it was a decent night, decent showing. We could have done much worse, and I don't think I can make the playoffs anyway. So life will go on that we didn't get the first place points last night. Continue to monitor. No moves made as of yet. We will continue to watch that throughout the course of the day as the Ravens have to get down to 53 today. And again, as I said before, there'll be a little bit of massaging that roster at that point.
Tyree Phillips was released.
Okay. No, the Ravens have they if the Ravens wanted, I would be confused as to why the Ravens would now be desirous of Tyree Phillips. If they just don't like any of their offensive linemen that we thought they were choosing from, well then sure. But I don't think that that's a world that is going to. I did see that the Bills. Somebody tweeted that the Bills are receiving some trade offers for their pass rush depth. The Bills were the team that for a little while was like drafting all of the edge rushers, like Boogie Basham from Wake Forest and A.J. Epineza from Iowa. And then they brought in Von Miller, and they just seemed to have a little bit more depth there. So that's kind of interesting to me. And some of that is just because I was enamored with some of those guys coming out of the draft. So I don't know what price I'd be willing to pay for example, a Boogie Basham, who maybe has – I haven't really even followed what he's done in his career because why would I do that? Boogie Basham, Carlos Basham. No, he's already been traded. He apparently got traded to the Giants.
Really? Like just
never
now?
mind.
Yeah,
in the last 30 minutes.
Wow.
All right, well, I'm already late on this one. Not going to happen. Boogie Basham was traded for a late-round pick to the Giants. So that would have been interesting to me. Honestly, that would have been something that I would have said, given our concern about what the Ravens are doing at the edge rush spot, I would have been willing to listen. Apparently, Jeremy Fowler said the Bills had received trade interest on Boogie Basham and A.J. Epineza. With Von Miller, Gregory Rousseau, and Leonard Floyd at the top, teams had interest in Buffalo's pass rush depth. Yeah, that would have been something. Anytime somebody gets released that we've heard of or that we're familiar with, we're going to be like, oh, that's interesting. To me, secondary and edge are the spots to watch, whether it's a player that's getting released or whether a team says, hey, if we were to trade from this spot, it would help us keep someone else that we like. I will monitor that. I'm not expecting an answer. In the same way that I don't think trading for Boogie Basham would have provided an immediate answer, it would have made us feel all that differently about what the Ravens are doing edge rush-wise. It would still probably come down to whether or not David Ajabo can become the player that we want him to be, and Odafe Owe can finally start showing signs of being that guy. But it would be one more player to add into the mix to give you a chance to find something. So at edge rush and at cornerback, as much as we've looked at these 53, trying to set a 53-man roster with players the Ravens have, and this goes into the territory of why I can't be furious if the Ravens decided they don't have 4 spots for running backs on their roster. Or even to your point, Patrick Ricard. If that's because they wanted to add in one more edge rusher or one more cornerback, I'd be understanding of that. Now, that's tough because that might be someone that we've not heard of, and you've got to give up a known for an unknown. And from a fan perspective, that's always a very difficult thing to do. Well, we know who this guy is. We don't know anything about this other guy. But I would, as much as we're trying to set a 53-man roster of players that are here, I do think that those positions uniquely, the Ravens have to be monitoring what might be out there because we don't feel great about those positions. That's just the reality of the circumstance. So I don't have names to give you because I don't know who's got such insane depth at cornerback that someone that might be a viable NFL player is about to become available either via a trade or via release in the next 24 hours. But all of those types of things do factor in as the Ravens get ready to set their roster today. They are inevitably watching. I don't know how they couldn't have called about Boogie Basham.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know that they're in a place that they couldn't have at least picked up the phone and said, maybe one more wouldn't hurt.
Right, and I guess to your point of anything that maybe potentially stuck out from that third preseason game was that David Ojabo was playing a lot, and he wasn't really having much of an impact.
Wasn't dominating the way that you would like to see someone dominate against lesser competition if they're going to be a high-level edge rusher for you. And again, I'm using the name Boogie Basham not just because it's cool to say Boogie. Like, I get it. We all like saying Boogie. That's part of the reason. This is the former Carlos Basham who decided that his name would be Boogie once he got to the NFL. But I say it only because he's the guy that was dealt. Boogie Basham, for what it's worth, in his career has 4.5 sacks over 2 years. There's no reason for us to believe that this young man was going to be a game changer for the Baltimore Ravens. But beggars can't be choosers. You have the lack of depth that you have. Once you're in that point, you need something.
We mentioned the secondary. Malcolm Butler is apparently trying out for the Falcons. He hasn't played since 2020.
I was gonna say, like, how long ago was the Seattle thing?
Was that 2014? That was 20.
I can't even remember, man.
That was the 2015. It was the 2014
season. 2015.
Yeah.
8 years removed from that. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I don't think Malcolm Butler's the answer, bro. I don't think that's the one. I God bless him. I'm not opposed to him trying to continue his career, but I just don't think that's going to be it for solving the Ravens' problems. All right, when we come back in, we will catch up with Nathan Ruiz of the Baltimore Sun. He's got some suggestions for how the Orioles can fix their off-field missteps. We'll talk about it next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Catch that festival feeling in Charm City. Everywhere you go, you'll find exciting entertainment, delicious eats, and endless summertime fun. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards, pick crabs by the waterfront, beat the heat inside a world-class museum, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
It's game on every day at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Here, you are in on every play with 100-foot screens at Sports and Social, the best table games action, and FanDuel Sportsbook, all just steps away. The best bar bites and drinks to indulgent steaks and curated cocktails. Your game day only gets better when matched up with Live's distinguished dining options. Late game? No problem. Our luxury hotel awaits. Live Casino and Hotel Maryland is the place to be on game day and every day. For more information, visit www.maryland.livecasinohotel.com. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All electronic tolling is here to stay in Maryland, and DriveEasyMD.com helps you cruise a little easier. We're Maryland's tolling resource. Home to EasyPass, pay-by-plate, and video tolling. It's never been easier to pay your way. DriveEasyMD.com. We'll keep you moving.
The Orioles are off and running, out to prove that last season wasn't a fluke, and they are one of the best teams in baseball. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, host of the Bat Around for PressBox. Tune in every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon as Zach Goodman and I break down every Adley bomb, every Tony Tater, and every save from the mountain. Like a warm hug from Rutschman, the Bat Around has you covered with all things Orioles as we embark on what's sure to be a magical summer in Birdland. So tune in every Saturday for the best in Orioles coverage right here on the Bat Around.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka dives into what's next for Lamar Jackson after receiving one of the biggest contracts in football history. Is Lamar ready to take the Ravens to the next level, now with a new offensive coordinator and new wide receivers? Also inside, we look at what new football coaches Brian Newberry and Pete Shinnick bring to Navy and Towson, respectively. And we meet players from the college football and soccer programs around the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
It's another Another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. Last weekend of the regular season kicks off on Friday the 8th with Adley Rutschman Night. Mystery Adley Rutschman giveaway items for the first 750 fans. Fireworks on Saturday with the return of our 1K beer run. See how fast you can complete the race while getting 3 beers down. And our Birdland celebration on Sunday. Free autograph items for the first 1,000 fans. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Hey Birdland, the next time you visit Camden Yards, stop by the brand new Superbook Bar and Restaurant, the first ever sports lounge at Oriole Park. The Superbook Bar and Restaurant is open to all fans once the gates open for each game. Enjoy first-rate food and beverage with a state-of-the-art viewing experience, including newly installed TVs, odds boards, and sports tickers. Get your game tickets now, then stop in for a 360-degree sports experience. Learn more at Orioles.com/Superbook.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
The other nice thing about Cutdown Day is, like, when you start seeing, you're like, oh, that guy's still in the NFL? I didn't even know. Like, Deion Jones was released today. And I'm like, wow, Deion Jones was still playing football in 2023? I did not know that. It's just a reminder, if you're someone who takes joy in let's name some guys, if that's a way that you enjoy passing the time, and I assure you as a male, I do love just naming some guys. My buddy Brandon and I get together, like we'll go to concerts, and beforehand we'll just sit up in his office and at like Rams Head Live, and we'll just name guys. That's just what we'll do. And we'll have the time of our lives doing it.
Well, I'm so used to. I see that Jalen Reagor now is on the. It was on like the trade block from the Vikings.
How is Jalen Reagor on the who's going to trade for Jalen Reagor? What does that mean? He's on a trade block.
He's a first-round receiver.
Yes, he was a first-round receiver once upon a time, but he's not a first-round receiver.
I'm so used to the Ravens always needing.
It's like when everybody kept saying
that guy's available.
It's like when everybody's like the Ravens have blah 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 first-round receivers on their roster. Like Laquan Treadwell was a first-round receiver. He's not currently a first-round receiver.
He will always be.
No, stop. We got to find a different way to talk about it.
First-round receiver.
Joining us now here on GCR, he covers the Orioles, the Baltimore Sun, and he wrote a really interesting column this week about their organizational missteps and the leadership from the top. We're all trying to find the guy who did this column. He is our friend Nathan Ruiz, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Nathan, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you as always, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Hey, so I got to be honest with you. I saw the headline and the title of the column. Much like this happens to me all the time when I write a column and they're like, all they do is read the headline, and I'm like, what was he talking? And then I read the column. I said, oh, we actually agree almost overwhelmingly. The only part that I'd push back on is I'll never be in favor of leadership of an organization not talking, even if I don't think that they have the right message. And you and I can get into that. I will always prefer transparency, because if it's the wrong message, at least I know what I'm getting. Like, I just never think it's a good idea for anyone to stop talking, because I always want to know as much as I can about what's going on.
No, look, I fully agree with you. I think how I will say it is that from a John Angelos Orioles perspective,
yeah, it's not helping.
They would be better off. They would be better off if he stopped talking.
Mm-hmm.
He has said exceptionally little this year to their benefit. When he opens their mouth, they are worse off. It pulls the news cycle away from how well they are playing into him. We saw it last week with the New York Times article. A very good baseball team was not the centerpiece of that article. There was John Angelos alone in those photos, alone in that article.
Yep.
And so when I say that John Angelos should stop talking, it's not for the public's benefit or my benefit. I would love John Angelos to stop keep talking. You know,
yes.
It's great. It's great for the Baltimore Sun readership. Gives me stuff to write about. He continually presents something that's worth analyzing and diving into. And
People want to know about it. I fully agree with you. As the owner of an organization who proclaims to be transparent, he should keep talking. But if he's going to keep saying the stuff he's been saying over the last 8 months, he and the organization would be better off if he didn't.
Let's get into the message, because the points that you made, I think, are points that a lot of us have brought up over the last couple of years. But I feel like, and I brought this up, I was talking to David Sampson, the former Marlins team president, about this yesterday, and I said, I feel like there is a way, some of the things that John Angelos has said have some merit. They're just shrouded in other things that are either purely nonsensical or just you can't win on because no one cares about that. You can't get a guy in Dundalk who's paying $16 for a hamburger to care about what your financial situation is as a small market baseball team. So is there a way to improve the messaging? Because I do think, I keep coming back to it, he's got to present what the private side of this public-private partnership is. Like, that's one of the biggest problems. I think there's a lot of merit to trying to improve downtown. You referenced that in the column. I think there's a ton of merit to, we would be well served as a community to have more reason for people to come downtown during the course of the year. I think that all of those things are good, but you're missing the pitch of how it's a public-private partnership, because all we're seeing is that you want $300 million more on top of the $600 million that you've already got, and that's going to make everybody seem like it's insane. I feel like if you could massage that and put out a message of here's what it looks like when it's public-private, then you might be willing or able to get people to listen to an argument that has a little bit of merit.
Yeah, I mean, that vision hasn't necessarily been fully publicized. Obviously, it was broken down a little bit in that New York Times piece talking about, just for example, an elementary school in the warehouse. Like you mentioned, I think John Angelos is welcome to have this vision for what things are supposed to be. And it's not that it's not something he should pursue, but to your point, how much of it is coming from the Orioles, how much of it is the city, how much of it is him kind of just shaping something in the image he wants it to be by using public dollars.
Right.
And that is part of owning a sports team. We see it all the time with different owners of organizations, is even though they are exceptionally wealthy people, they continue to take funds from public entities and make use of them. And the states and cities in those circumstances allow that to happen. And right now, the Maryland Stadium Authority and the Orioles and John Angelos are negotiating those exact things right now. Now, as I noted in that piece, they're welcome to pursue those things, but just sign a lease first. Get a 20, 30-year agreement out there. Take care of the baseball stadium. Make sure the Orioles are going to stay in Baltimore, play at Camden Yards, and then worry about everything around that. I think trying to have what is very clearly a very multifaceted situation, talking about parking lots and use of the warehouse and live, work, play, and all these things, it's really complicated, and understandably so. We're talking about a really big vision that, again, they are welcome to have. But sign a lease, get the baseball team taken care of, and then worry about everything else once you have that document in place. Because I think that also creates trust. I quoted, State Senate President Bill Ferguson in the story.
Right.
He has these hesitancies about making this kind of an agreement when they don't have a partner who's fully committed to Baltimore yet. And so I think once that lease is in place, and we're not talking about something that's going to expire 4 months from now, we're talking about something that's expiring 2 to 3 decades from now, it becomes a lot easier to have these conversations about what do we do at Camden Yards? How do we expand this and build on this?
It's tough. We're chatting with Nathan Ruiz, the Baltimore Sun. It's tough because I can't defend it in any way. I can understand the argument is, well, I feel like I have leverage, right? Like at the moment, I have more leverage. The moment I sign the lease, I feel like I lose the leverage because there's no longer any – and that you can never win with that in the public. Like no one ever, to your point, we don't care. We just don't care. We just want you to get this over with so that no one can ever say the word Nashville and have it have any merit. We just get this part over with already. But I can be understanding within the concept of negotiating of, right, but I don't want to do that because I want to keep as much leverage as I possibly can, and that makes all of this very complicated.
I do wonder how much leverage he truly has, dating to 2019 when he said as long as Fort McHenry overlooks the harbor, the Orioles are going to be in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And on multiple occasions, Rob Manfred, the MLB commissioner, has come out and said the Orioles are staying in Baltimore. I do wonder how much leverage he truly has. This isn't something, and obviously these things can change, and who knows what kind of machinations are at play. But I think there are questions of what is going to happen. The Camden Yards, despite its age, despite its needs for $600 million in repairs, it's still one of the gems of the sport.
Yep.
I don't think Major League Baseball wants to lose that by any means. And so I do wonder how much leverage John Angelos is operating with. And obviously I'm not part of these negotiations. I don't know the inner workings. He's clearly trying a bunch of different things. You know, we've talked about the parking lots. There's the $300 million. There was at one point an ask to not pay rent. There's a really big vision. But it also, again, I think it just comes back to there is a vision of just a 20 to 30-year lease to bind the Orioles to Camden Yards. And John Angelos has said himself, he views that as a very small part of a larger conversation. But I think, like I was just saying, that conversation can continue once that lease is in place.
I don't disagree with that, Nathan. I think the other part of it, too, and I've talked about this a ton, like the Nashville thing has always been silly. Major League Baseball is not going to reward the Angelos family. It's not going to happen. Like, they're not going to say, oh, you were involved with a lawsuit with another team? Well, let's give you a new market and move you out of a place where they've got $600 million worth of public money waiting for you. It's insanity that it's even being discussed. So to your point, the question how much leverage there is, if baseball would simply not allow for it to happen, then that might be one of the problems he's running into, is that he knows he's kind of stuck up against it, right? Like, I got to make this work, but yet make it seem like I have leverage to somehow negotiate in this process.
Yeah, and again, he is entitled to do this. He is welcome to try these things and make these efforts. But like we were saying, it falls flat. If he's out here asking the state for an additional $300 million on top of the $600 million he's already guaranteed once he signs a long-term lease, he's saying he can't give out $150 million, $200 million contracts when the highest contract they've given out since 2019 is Kyle Gibson's $10 million deal. Like, a lot of these things he's talking about just kind of fall flat. Now, I think that there is a way for him to say similar things, and I just go back to spring training when the open the books conversation was still a relative possibility.
Yeah.
And, you know, he had said on Martin Luther King Day he was going to do it the next week. That obviously didn't happen. Ask him, hey, do you still plan to do this? And he had the opportunity to say, well, no, I was a little emotional that day. I overreacted. That's obviously not something I'm going to do. I apologize for saying something I wasn't going to do. Instead, he doubled down. He said, if I say something like I'm going to sit down with you guys and go over the business of the organization, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to just say it and walk away from it. And then what did he do? He said it and he walked away from it. And then you look at, the quote he gave to the New York Times about equilibrium, equivalency, or elasticity, supply and demand, whatever. Like, he could have simply said, when asked, like, hey, are you going to sign any of these guys? He could have said, we're going to do the best we can, and hopefully along the way we'll win a World Series or 2 or 3 or 4. Yep. And he just didn't. He just kind of instead jumped off into this thing. And it's okay. If that's truly how he feels, if that's the truth of the situation, that he thinks the Orioles would be underwater if they started giving out too many contracts, then that's fine. And if that's the truth of the situation, but it just makes it hard to believe that what he's saying is the truth. When, again, we're having these conversations about leverage with negotiating with the MSA, and leverage as an owner who will eventually be negotiating with, the MLBPA at some point down the line. Like, these things, I think anytime an owner is publicly speaking, you have to wonder, what is their motive here? What is their goal? And so it's disappointing that, again, these things just kind of keep continually popping up and taking away from what is a really, really good season for the Orioles on the field.
Let me go back to playing. I want to play armchair psychologist for a second. It's one of my favorite things to do. I oftentimes say, when I talk to people about relationships, when someone tells you who they are, they're daring you to believe them, right? Like, that you have to choose to believe them. And so when you bring up within the column the thing that all of us have talked about, like, just hand out a freaking extension already. Say to this fan base, we are putting the flag down. This is somebody who's going to be here. I can't help but wonder if what we should really take away, and this dates back to the next Tampa thing, when everybody thought, like, the plan was to try to be the next Houston. I can't help but wonder if they're just flat out telling you, stop thinking that there's going to be any money spent. Like, this, what happened last offseason is the way it's going to be. We'll bring in, low budget guys, but we're just never going to spend money on the baseball team. That's the way it's going to be here. And I can't shake that thought process that he's trying to lay it out as plainly as possible for everyone and daring everyone to believe that they're not intending to spend money on baseball players at any point in the future.
Yeah, I think until they do it, it's okay to believe that. Now, that said, if they want to be the next Tampa has given out extensions. Now, obviously, there's a situation hanging over Wander Franco right now, but they did give him a lengthy extension, a young shortstop. They gave him an extension. Yandy Diaz got an extension. Like, they have given out some multi-year deals. They just signed this past offseason. They signed Zach Eflin for 3 years, $40 million. So there has been some money spent by the Tampa Bay Rays. I do think when it comes to the Orioles' finances and these arguments about their payroll, one thing that is worth keeping in mind that, let's say 3 years from now, Adley Rutschman is arbitration eligible. Ryan Mountcastle is in his last year before free agency. You've got Gunnar Henderson and Grayson Rodriguez and Jordan Westburg, I guess, probably won't be there yet, but they'll have a number of guys who are inching up in salary. There will be kind of this natural increase in what they're paying this team with how young it is right now. But at the same time, in that span, you'll see an Austin Hayes reach free agency, a Cedric Mullins, an Anthony Santander, a John Means. So there's going to be, I think, some natural increases. But to your point, like until they go out and they actually sign someone to a multi-year extension that keeps them beyond their free agent years, it's going to be a question of will they actually do that?
And they're going to have to show it. They're going to have to show that it's something that they will actually change, because otherwise I'm inclined to start thinking that this is just who they're going to be. And then I'm inclined to start thinking about like what the actual window is for the Baltimore Orioles, because to the point, if they're not going to nail down any of these guys, then I don't think it's a 5-year window. I think you can't do what you did with Manny Machado. You've got to start looking at when you get the maximum value, and that is kind of the Rays model. To say you're right, they did give out a couple of extensions, but they're constantly trying to find.
They also moved on from a lot of guys.
Yep,
yeah,
the maximum
and
value.
Michael Elias has used the word, right, they're transactional. He's used the Cleveland Guardians the same way.
Yep.
They keep Jose Ramirez, but they trade away Francisco Lindor. And so I think when you're talking about a team that has Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson and Grayson Rodriguez, like it's cool to envision the next 5 years having those guys, but envisioning all three of those guys still being on the team in 10 years, say, is hard to do.
And if they're not going to be here for that long, I do think at some point that after 3 years, you might have to say this is the time to trade them, because this is when we can maximize and get the biggest return for that trade. And I hate that. I don't think that's smart. I don't like that for this fan base, but I just think that's the reality of how the baseball team. Yeah.
And I just think it's unfortunate that we're having this conversation in what is effectively like the first fully fledged post-rebuild year. And we're having it because John Angelos came out and said, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this.
Yep.
And that didn't need to be said again in 2023 when Adley Rutschman has 4 more years of team control after this one, and Gunnar Henderson has 5 more years of team control after this one. People could just be enjoying how good the Orioles are, but that just didn't happen.
I feel like that there's the underlying fear, Nathan, within this fan base that it dates back to the Peter Angelos era, that they're just never going to be able to get out of their own way. And it doesn't mean that this city or this fan base is incapable or not capable of enjoying what's happening this year. As we saw, there was a massive crowd out on Saturday night. That the city is very invested, but it feels like it's almost an investment with a, but I am still, I can't let you hurt me too much. Like, I still feel like that there is this wedge that exists of, because of these things, these missteps, it's hard for me to fully embrace or completely separate my feelings from the leadership, from the feelings from the team, that it's just created an awkwardness that's hard to define because of fears that no matter what, no matter how good these players are, no matter how hard they work, somehow the organization is going to end up finding a way to screw it up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that there's that natural feeling of distrust. I mean, you look at it, they have the best record in the American League. They're leading the American League East. They've already secured a winning season. It's not even September yet. But it's also their 6th winning season since the wire-to-wire 1997 season. Yep. So in 26 years since, they've had 6 winning seasons. So I think that there's an understandable level of distrust. The organization, I think, has earned some benefit of the doubt. You look at them right now, again, they have the best record in the American League. They have the best farm system in baseball. There is a lot of hope for a bright future here. But again, things just continue to kind of pop up to unnecessarily tug away from that. And so that was really the point of writing the piece I wrote where I said John Angelos should stop talking. He should let the team speak for itself. I think if, the focus was just on what the Orioles are doing on the field in the baseball operations standpoint of things, there'd be a lot different feeling. There'd be a really bright future. There would still be questions of whether it's coming in Baltimore because they haven't signed a lease yet. But I think once that is taken care of, a lot of other things will start to fall into place. And I think some of the stressors that maybe people have around this team, this organization, can start to fall into place when you aren't thinking in 4 months this lease expires and what's going to happen. And, I think people start to think a little less about John Angelos once the lease is signed.
We'll link the story up on our Twitter account at Glenn Clark Radio, but you can also just go to BaltimoreSun.com and read it there. At Nathan S. Ruiz is how you follow him on Twitter. Nathan, really appreciate it, man. I thought it was a really well-written column. Thank you for spending a couple of minutes with us this morning chatting about it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Glenn.
Nathan Ruiz of the Baltimore Sun with us here on GCR. Try not to obsess over it. Again, as David Sampson said, he implored us yesterday. Enjoy this. don't allow these other things to interfere with the joy. And we try, and we do our best, but it's hard. It's hard because, we were talking with our buddy Eric Arditi yesterday, and Eric, brought up the idea of Josh Hader, and then he tweeted about it after our conversation yesterday, and then the entire internet piled on. They're not doing that. That's the reality. We can't even talk about it. The fun idea of bringing back a kid who's from here that came up through this system, and wouldn't it be neat to have it come full circle? And as you go try to win a World Series next year, if you don't have Felix Bautista, you could have Josh Hader. And he was smothered for saying that. And I get it, the points that were made weren't wrong. There's nothing that suggests that the Orioles are going to spend any money, and certainly if they're going to spend money, it'd be hard to imagine they're going to spend it on the bullpen. But it's frustrating. You can't just even have a fun conversation without being piled on. That's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of what you're up against. It's the nature of, again, a fan base that wants to support the team, but wants to see something. So the points that Nathan made, it doesn't hurt at all. John Angelos can say both things at once. He can say, we're trying to figure out a way to, benefit the city and be a good partner and all that stuff, and also we want to try to build a World Series winner. You can do both things. Just changing the messaging a little bit would go a long way. If the messaging was, we think we have a plan that while baseball is unique in not being a salary cap-based sport, we think we've got a plan that can deliver a championship caliber baseball team, as you're starting to see to Baltimore, that would go a long way. Talk about it. Just talk about wanting to win a championship. Because talking about the books is not a winner. You can't ever win that way. Even if you're right, you'll never win. No one cares. Your reality is not Donna in White Marsh's reality. Her reality is she's trying to figure out how to pay off her student debt. And you want her to care about the difficulty of being a small market baseball team. Where even if you're right, and that's not even something that people are willing to accept, but even if you were right, no one cares. The messaging. Change the messaging. The actions, yeah, I'd sure as hell like to see them. But I just wonder if at some point, going to have to accept that's not the way it's going to be. Appreciate Nathan Ruiz taking the time for us this morning to talk about it. Griffin, you want to get everybody caught up on what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland?
Of course I do, Glenn. I want to tell you about David's today. There's something new at Live Casino Hotel in Maryland. It is David's. Check out David's new menu featuring barbecue ribs, strawberry cheesecake waffles, Blue Bay mussels, and of course snow crab legs by the pound. Your perfect gin and tonic is just a shake away as you craft your perfect combo, and be sure to stay for the live music every Thursday through Sunday at David's at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. It's at Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, when we come back in, we are going to entertain me for a little while. We're going to talk about the U.S. Open. It matters a great deal to me. Carlos Alcaraz plays tonight.
Coco had me sweating.
It was awkward. It was a very difficult matchup against an opponent that had the pace was dreadful, but.
What was it, the second set? Was that a 30-minute point?
God. We'll talk about all of it, and we'll talk some Ravens with our buddy Gregg Rosenthal from NFL Network. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. You feel that? That's the sound of football coming back, and now's the time to place your preseason bets with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the most trusted name in Vegas, and now you can use my promo code GlennClark23 to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code GlennClark23. All one word, no spaces, two N's in Glenn. Don't miss out this football season. Win some money with Superbook Sports and that promo code GlennClark23. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. Last weekend of the regular season kicks off on Friday the 8th with Adley Rutschman Night. Mystery Adley Rutschman giveaway items for the first 750 fans. Fireworks on Saturday with the return of our 1K beer run. See how fast you can complete the race while getting 3 beers down. And our Birdland celebration on Sunday. Free autograph items for the first 1,000 fans. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
I'm Michael Jangrandy, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
The Maryland 5-star returns to iconic Fair Hill October 19th to 22nd, marking the next chapter in Maryland's equestrian tradition. Best described as the triathlon of horse eventing, you won't want to miss this thrilling sport. Enjoy a fall festival with local fare, retail vendors, and tons of family fun. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront with vibrant small towns and accommodations to suit every desire. It's the place to be in October. Visit Maryland5star.us for tickets.
Hey Birdland, a new alternative payment method is available at Oriole Park at Camden Yards for the 2023 season. OzPay is a quick, convenient, and rewarding option to make payments at concessions and retail locations throughout the ballpark. Use OzPay to unlock rewards, special offers, and unique experiences. And with secure, contactless payment, you'll get back to your seats faster. Get started in the MLB Ballpark app or learn more at Orioles.com/OzPay. That's Orioles.com/OzPay.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand. Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing.
America's biggest bike race returns to Maryland Sunday, September 3rd as 120 of the world's best cyclists race the Maryland Cycling Classic presented by United Healthcare. Come enjoy the free fan zones and festival with interactives, food, and drink beginning at noon. Then see the exciting race conclusion from 3 to 5 p.m. in the Inner Harbor. Come be loud, be proud, and let the world hear you. For more information, go to marylandcyclingclassic.us.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/pressboxonline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know it's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
Jeff Zrebeck says it's likely that the Ravens won't make moves until after practice today, so we're not going to likely learn anything about. They're practicing at 12:30, so we're not likely to learn anything about who is being released and who isn't being released until after practice is over. You would like to think you walk out and say, hey, that's weird, we don't see so-and-so out here. But apparently, at least according to Jeff Zrebeck of The Athletic, the thought is the moves won't happen until after practice, which is a little bit weird, right? Like, it's a little bit weird.
I mean,
you're going to ask somebody to go out to practice today.
Right.
And then
Or
5 minutes later be like, hey.
Or they start removing guys mid-practice.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the way that it'll go. I don't think that's going to be the plan. But it's a bit odd that they would do it that way. All right. Joining us now here on GCR, the host of the former podcast, the wildly popular, the number one podcast in all of Costa Rica, Courts of Thunder. He also has some gigs on a lesser-known network called the NFL Network. He is our friend Gregg Rosenthal, and he's back with us now here on GCR. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
What is happening, Glenn? You know, the most wonderful time of year, fantasy draft, but not actual NFL games to distract us from the important U.S. Open that's going on.
I have this really awkward situation. I don't think I've told you about this yet. So I am celebrating a milestone birthday, which number I'd like to leave out of the conversation next week. And so
I can guess.
Yeah, I think you know. Mrs. Clark and our old roommate said, hey, don't block out your day on Saturday. Now, this is uncomfortable for me because this Saturday is by far my favorite sports day of the year, right? Like,
wow.
I've said this for a long time, Labor Day weekend is my favorite weekend of the year, between fantasy drafts, the U.S. Open, and the return of a full slate of college football. I love this weekend. So I didn't know how to say, like, hey, thanks for the offer, but unless you're planning on taking me to New York, I would kind of rather not. Like, I couldn't have the heart to say that, and I'm in a very awkward spot where, like, I just want to tell them, hey, whatever you're planning on doing, please just cancel it instead. Let's drive to New York on Saturday morning and go watch tennis for the day. So I
don't think that's a crazy offer. It's your day, then,
right,
Glenn. I mean,
but aren't you a jerk if you do
come
that?
over the house. Just come over the house.
Right.
You know,
that would be
watch
totally
some
fine.
stuff.
If y'all just wanted to hang out and I could just, I would love that, but it's going to be awkward for me. I'm thinking about you because I have the Ons Jabeur match on the screen behind me. And I know how much it would mean to you to see Ons Jabeur make a run. What did you make of the weirdness of last night for Coco? The saying, and I think it was brought up 12 times last night, that you can't win a slam in the first week, you can only lose it, I think is relevant. I think that all that matters is that you win. I do wonder how much the now even brighter spotlight of we think you can win the U.S. Open becomes a factor for her as she's going to be playing a lot of primetime, Arthur Ashe matches. What did you make of what you saw?
Yeah, I think she's going to live in prime time. I couldn't help but think back to last year's U.S. Open with, Serena starting off every primetime session and thinking, if you look at Coco's upcoming matches, like, Coco's just taking that spot now. She's going to be the 7 p.m. Eastern Ashe spot for this tournament. And I don't think she played like that poorly. I think for people that haven't watched her opponent, which is basically everyone, I mean, she is kind of a stinker. She's kind of a troll. She's kind of someone who gets good players into these sort of matches. And I thought she played, Siegemund was her opponent, played exceptional in the first set. And Coco kind of settled herself and won. And that's something that happened. But I think her draw is worrisome. Basically, every round is a landmine. And getting to the quarterfinals would probably mean Iga Swiatek, the best player in the world.
Yeah.
So that worries me. With a much different draw, I would feel really good about her making it really far. But even Danielle Collins in the third round has me like, oh, she's playing well. Watch out.
I hate that because this feels like it should be the moment, right? Like, it feels like the way that she has played this summer, she has earned the right for this to be her moment and her chance. I don't know how it's fair for us to judge if it doesn't happen that way.
Well, I still think, she'll get through it all until Iga and get to the quarterfinals. And that could mean Danielle Collins, who's made it far. That could mean Petra Kvitova. She plays a very promising teenager up next, Mira Andreeva, so that's weird. I still think she'll get to Iga. I just think Iga is, the favorite for a reason in this tournament, and it kind of stunned me that Coco is the number 2 betting favorite right now. But even though I know Coco just won that match 2 weeks ago, to me she's the underdog there, and that's the quarterfinals. You just wish that match was in the semis or in the finals, because Iga, right after losing a match, I'm just sort of afraid of her. You know what I mean?
No, she's Iga.
She'll be out for blood.
I I completely understand. So who else is there? Is there anyone else on the women's side? Like, is it just the Iga Swiatek Open, or
Oh yeah, no, I don't think so. Do you? No, I think Rybakina, Sabalenka. If Owens gets into good form, I mean, we talk about this all the time. A lot of it is based on the draw, but Mukova certainly, if she gets going, like I think there's a decent amount of women to have a chance to win. But Iga is a cut above the rest.
I look, man. I think the best thing that could happen for the sport is for Coco Gauff to beat Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals and figure out a way to win this tournament. I think it would be incredible in this country. It would go a long way for that to be the case.
Everywhere. I mean, she is. She could run for president if it was allowed. She's just like such an incredible athlete and sort of figure, and just everything about her is like screams superstar. But I do think that people that don't follow tennis quite as much probably don't realize, like, look, I think her game isn't necessarily as flashy, just the forehands, backhands, and serves as the top 3 or 4 players. I wouldn't say at this point she has the weapons that they do quite yet. And she, it makes sense. She's 19 years old.
All right, on the men's side, it's just a sort of a fait accompli for everyone that we are moving towards Djokovic, Alcaraz, and I think everybody is hoping that that's the case. I have no reason to think otherwise. I think those two dudes are so far above everybody else in this game. I have no reason to think that we're not going to get that, and I think it will be incredible, and I think that it will be everything that we could possibly ask for.
Well, except for the fact that it's opposite, the afternoon games in week 1 of the NFL.
The Ravens play at 1 o'clock, so I don't care, Greg. We're good.
It's just so I care. I'm working, and it's just so stupid. It's just so stupid. Figure this out, U.S. Open. Just figure it out. Play the men's match on Saturday, if nothing else. Start the tournament a week earlier. I would like that, but it just that always bothers me. But I'm with you that. The men's are much more predictable in a way because it's best of 5 sets. You have more margin for error, and those two guys are so far ahead of the pack. I think the 2 guys that could mess that up would be Medvedev and Sinner, and the tough thing for Alcaraz is they're both on his side of the draw. So to me, it feels a little imbalanced. Djokovic's draw seems quite easy.
I'm trying to figure out what I would have to give up. Oh, Eagles. You care about Eagles Patriots, but I don't care about Eagles Patriots.
I care about them all. I mean, I'm stuck. I'm doing a show right after. I never watched the U.S. men's live. I mean, I got it in like a little third TV, in the corner.
Oh, I got to do a post-game show, but I finished that fairly quickly now. Dolphins Chargers is all right. Like, that's probably –
I love that. I'm actually thinking of walking across – I work right next to SoFi, and it makes my day a little complicated, but I'm pretty sure because I just love watching Justin Herbert, and I love that matchup.
I'm with you.
I think I'm going to go watch over for the most of that game before coming back like midway through the 4th.
The answer this year for me is they should have played the game at night so that I would have an excuse to not watch the Cowboys, or play the match at night. Move the championship match to 8 o'clock so I have a reason to not watch the Cowboys. That would be the play. I would have liked that a lot. What do we make of it? We're talking with Gregg Rosenthal, by the way, here on GCR. What do we make of the struggles for Francis this summer? Like, I just can't. I get it. Like, it's not maybe the end of the world to lose to Stan Wawrinka, but it feels like it is in the year of 2023 to lose to Stan Wawrinka and Milos Raonic. Like, that's just not something that should be happening if you're a legitimate top 10 player.
Yeah, which he's like on the borderline of. Francis Tiafoe to me is living for this tournament, and just hope he's not putting too much on that. I don't think he gets up quite as much. I think those matches were weird matches, and the other guys played well and everything. But look, there were 3 people that I was looking at when the draw came out. Man, I hope they have a good draw. Can they navigate it? One was Coco. We talked about that. Not a good one. One was on Jabeur. Not really a good one after the first 3. Francis got a good one, and I like that section, and I pretty manageable draw through to the second week. And then even when you get there, I see relatively manageable matches versus if he had gotten Djokovic or Alcaraz or even Sinner early. Like, we could be looking at a Tommy Paul Francis quarterfinal, and that would be fun. And And I'd take my chances with Francis against him or against Casper Ruud, who's the 5 seed.
I would agree with that. I think that's manageable. I don't know how to have confidence in what I've seen for the last few weeks. Like, I was willing to dismiss the DC thing. Like, the rain screwed everything up. Everybody's got to play multiple matches. Like, okay, that can happen. But, man, this just hasn't been right this summer. And it concerns me a great deal.
At his time of year, but I think a little bit like on coming into Wimbledon and in general, I think they love the big stage, and I think they're big stage players in that, like, I could just see him having the best tournament of his year, which would be repeating the semifinals. To me, that would be a great result if he gets back to a semifinal again, and obviously you hope you could somehow get through it, but at that point you'd have Djokovic, and we'll see.
Is there any other American man that you found yourself in? Like, I don't care. I don't give a rat's ass about this being John Isner's final tournament. I wish that would have happened years ago. I'm sorry. I don't hate John Isner. I just hate you, as you know. I hate his brand of tennis, and I would much rather never have another John Isner.
And sometimes his tweets. Sometimes,
Yeah. There's some of that too, for sure. I want to be interested in Alex Mickelson, who I know other people are interested in, but I watched that. I watched that Newport final, and it's just like the weirdest tennis match I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if he's actually good or not, or if he's just got a style that can get players to, just the sweeping bounces, the weird, the slicing to slice to death. I'm not sure that's a viable style of tennis that can actually do anything.
I mean, you're definitely the only person on like a radio show that brought up Alex Mickelson today. I mean, look, there's plenty of more big profile Americans to get excited. I mean, Eubanks, Eubanks is not in good form, but he got maybe the easiest draw of any like lower seed I saw, and he could easily make it far. Tommy Paul is playing the best tennis of his career. Like I said, I think that could be a quarterfinal match. No one that's like a threat to win, but guys could have like a fun little draw. We got Ben Shelton versus Dominic Thiem in round 2.
Wait. Yeah, and that is good. I like that. I want to watch that. But you understand what I'm saying. It's not really. It's not about winning, and it's not about somebody making a run. It's about can somebody be legit. I have been begging. You and I thought that Seb Korda could be a thing, and how foolish do we feel now years later? For a minute,
It's early.
Stop it. Seb Korda is going to be an okay player and nothing more than that. Jensen Brooksby, I wanted to sell myself on being a thing for a summer, and I don't even know if he's alive.
He's hurt. He's been hurt.
That's fine. I just don't have any belief that he's going to be a thing after that. You cannot get me to commit. You can't get me to commit to Tommy Paul. I refuse. I refuse to commit myself to Tommy Paul. So then I want to believe in Ben Shelton, but like he's not done anything since Australia.
No, he's also 18 or 19. But yeah, I don't think there's any real threat to go far or to be a future champion other than, Tiafoe. And in terms of going far, Taylor Fritz certainly could, but I'm pretty over Taylor Fritz. I think just because of the way the women's game ends and some of the players there's a much better chance that you get a surprise Jen Brady run, former U.S. Open semifinalist who's come back and looks quite good, or the random Madison Keys run we've talking about for like forever. I think that's much more likely than any man doing it.
Or Pegula trying to put it all together for 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
Like that. Those things could happen. But
her biggest win of her career, future Buffalo Bills owner. That's kind of an under the radar story, but it sounds like she's kind of the kid that they think is the smartest, and she's probably going to own the Buffalo Bills one day.
How about that? I did not know that. All right.
I mean, that's just sort of the scuttlebutt, but yeah, it makes sense.
Where are you? Like, there's a lot of excitement in Baltimore about the Ravens offensively, and part of that is because there's been so little excitement in our history with the Baltimore Ravens offensively. So even having 3 what we think to be competent wide receivers on a roster at the same time is like earth-shattering here. Like, we didn't know that you were allowed to have that many competent wide receivers on the roster at the same time.
My kids drafted 2 of them in their fantasy draft last night. My daughter took Zay Flowers, and my son took Rashad Bateman.
This is not something we are not used to this in these parts. But are we getting too carried away? Like, do we need to remind ourselves that hey, it's still a first-year coordinator, a couple of receivers that are coming off serious injuries, a quarterback who's coming off a serious injury? Like, what should realistically be the way that we be looking at this?
that you're patient if September is a little bumpy offensively and defensively for that matter. And, back in the day, that's sort of how the Ravens would start seasons under John Harbaugh. They would always start slow and figure things out, especially defensively as it went along. I could see that with this team, but to me, for a team that didn't change their head coach and quarterback, they are the biggest wild card, X factor, whatever word you want to put on it, boomer bust team in the entire NFL. I think they're Super Bowl contenders, but you could tell me that they start their season 4-5, and I wouldn't be totally shocked about that either. But I think the ceiling is so high that you guys aren't too excited. I think they have a chance to win the Super Bowl, and that's all you can ask for, I guess.
I tend to think that's the case. It's weird that we're going into a season and almost like the bigger concerns are on the other side of the ball, right? Like where I simply don't know with as little depth as they have at edge rush and cornerback. I almost think the awkward spot is that they kind of have to be a much better offensively. That as much as you say you got to have patience, I don't know how much time you have for that. Like I think this offense kind of has to start clicking early because if this comes down to you getting stops, I love Roquan Smith, man, and I think their defensive line is talented and young and good. But, dude, with that little at edge rush and corner, I have got some serious concerns about their ability to win one-possession games if you're facing real quarterbacks late.
The way Mike McDonald coached up that defense by the end of the year where I thought they were a top 5 defense at the very least by the end of the year really gives me confidence that he's a good coach. I think Clowney's actually going to be a sneaky, valuable pickup for you, give you 500 good snaps. They usually figure things out on the defensive side, so I'm not totally concerned. But the difference with them, and this is true of a lot of teams this year, is like the divisions are all so imbalanced. Like the AFC East, the AFC North, the NFC East are just so good that there's going to have to be teams that I think if they were just in one of the other 4 or 5 divisions would have good seasons or would have a much better chance to make the playoffs. And those are 12 teams there that I actually think all of them, including your neighboring Commanders, could be pretty good. And like someone's getting left behind in that AFC North, or 2 teams are. And I really don't know who it is. I hope it's the Browns. That's what I hope.
Yeah, well, for obvious reasons. For multiple obvious reasons, I hope that's the case as well.
No, mine is just one reason.
No, I know. You don't care about the other side of it, but I think your reason is a very good reason that everybody should feel.
Oh,
the
what?
same
You're mad at them? You're mad at them for?
No, it's just they're in the same.
They're in the same.
No, it's in the same division. You're never gonna want.
Yeah.
I swear to God, there were a couple Ravens fans a couple years ago who were like, I don't know, I kind of want to see them succeed because it's a good story. I said, what?
No, that's silly.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
But that division's good. Steelers are good. Bengals are really good. And it's hard to know who's going to fall short. And it could be the Ravens. You just lose some close games and suddenly it gets negative.
All right. What is your schedule like as we move into the regular season, the NFL? Where do we see and hear you?
Well, that's why I like this week. It's like the last peaceful week. But yeah, around the NFL, we're doing 5 shows a week. We're doing some extra NFL Plus shows. Sign up for NFL Plus. Why not?
I think I have NFL Plus. Now I got to go back and check. I think I've got.
I know. I feel like such a company man. But my buddy was texting me, and especially if you don't have like YouTube TV. Basically, if you don't have cable or YouTube TV, like you get all the games, all your local and primetime games on that. That alone is enough. And Scott Hansen on Red Zone. That's enough. Enough.
Yeah, get that. Get on that. Get on that already. At Gregg Rosenthal on Twitter. Let's talk again as we get to the end of the tournament. Love you, buddy.
See you, Glenn.
Thanks, pal. That's my friend Greg, who's a big network star, and appreciate him slumming with us still all these years later. That means the world to me. Matteo Berrettini's playing right now, too. I put on Ons because I love Greg, and Greg loves Ons, but Matteo Berrettini's just so handsome that I kind of want to watch him play tennis.
Matteo.
What?
I don't know. I like the name. I like the name.
You had nothing to offer, so you just
like
said
Matteo.
the name Matteo.
Well, I mean, what do you want me to say?
They don't call him the best color analyst in baseball
Matteo.
for nothing. But that's
Well,
okay for you to not have anything to say.
Oh, so I should just.
But do you think you added something by just saying
Matteo? Well,
Matteo?
So the reason I watched you're so not invited to my bat mitzvah.
Oh, okay.
There's a character. There's a kid named Matteo.
See, now that is now you're actually adding something.
Oh, now I am.
And I have not seen that film. Was it good?
I liked it. I mean, it was
I've heard
Adam
things
Sandler,
about
like,
it.
I enjoyed it.
But was it an Adam Sandler movie?
No, it was mostly about his daughter and.
That's what I'm saying. Like if it's an Adam Sandler movie, I'm probably out on it.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, he's got his scenes, his his funny quips. Like his character was funny, but he wasn't the star of the movie. It was about his 13-year-old daughter.
Did he write it? Did he?
Well, so his whole family, like the daughter.
I know they're all in
were
it.
his-
I
yeah.
understand that, but this is what I want to know.
I don't think he. Well, I mean, I would assume he had something to do with the writing.
It was produced by Adam Sandler, so that's concerning.
That's concerning. Well, I mean, it's a Happy Madison.
I need writer and I need writer and I need director. That's what I need.
It was
where do I
Allison
find-
Peck.
Written by Allison Peck, directed by Sammy Cohen. So it's got a chance. It's got a chance if he was not involved with the intimate filmmaking. If it was just,
what has he made?
I want my daughters to be in a movie, so here's some money. Put my daughters in a movie. There's a chance. There's a chance that it's good. But if it involves him in a more intimate way, forget it.
What don't you like that he's done?
Everything.
Oh.
All of them.
Everything?
Since, when was the last good?
Uncut Gems?
Everything. Well, but that was not an Adam Sandler movie. That was a Safdie Brothers movie that he
happened to be in.
Right. But everything starting with Little Nicky.
Okay.
Read it off for me. Like, go back to Little Nicky, and then maybe there was one, because, like, okay, obviously, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, The Wedding Singer, The Water Boy, like, he had a streak that would make Joe DiMaggio blush there to start his career. But it all turned around Little Nicky. Like, after Little Nicky.
Jack and Jill, obviously.
God.
51st Dates.
Okay, 51st Dates was still good. 51st Dates was still a good movie.
I guess he just acted in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Longest Yard.
Probably the best of everything we're going to say moving forward. It was palatable, but not good.
He was a producer for The Benchwarmers.
Yeah, but that wasn't. That was just everything about that was
Click.
Atrocious.
Chuck and Larry. I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. Do you like Kevin James?
Hang on a second. Chuck and Larry, again, in comparison to some of these other films on this list, not as bad. Certainly not good. That was around. I forgot to put Big Daddy on the list of in the hit streak. That Chuck and Larry was when you started to realize that the wobbity woo thing could not work anymore. Like you were no longer there for that. Like that part of Adam Sandler's life was over as far as just entertaining people with the wobbity woo. Like that you couldn't. It was over at that point.
2007. Mark it.
So after that,
Bedtime Stories in 2008. I like.
Don't
that
know
one.
what that was.
That was a very kids movie, but
okay, then it
I was 8 years old when it came out. I liked it a lot. Paul Blart. He was a producer for Paul Blart.
God. Well, I mean, he produced this, so it's not a good sign.
Grown Ups. I liked Grown Ups.
No, of course you like Grown Ups. Of course, it was terrible. The Grown Ups franchise was an abomination. It was dreadful.
Zookeeper with Kevin James. He apparently voiced the
that doesn't count.
monkey.
It's not really an Adam Sandler.
It
wasn't good.
He's a producer.
It wasn't good, but I don't want to pile on.
Again, Jack and Jill. That's My Boy.
That's My Boy is the most offensive motion picture ever made.
What?
That's My Boy is so bad. I had to put. I tell you what makes me the most offended about That's My Boy is that was the only year when I used to go do the Super Bowl every year. I got connected with a lot of people in the Happy Madison universe. Peter Dante became a friend. Of course, you know him as the star of Grandma's Boy. He was a big lacrosse guy, played at Hofstra.
Okay.
You know, like was a dude that liked reggae music and smoking weed and lacrosse. And so like Peter Dante and I
developed Clark's dream.
We developed a kinship, right? Like we became friends, and he would come on the show regularly. He had some demons that he had to deal with a little bit later on. So I don't know. I haven't talked to Peter Dante in a while, although if I reached out to him, I have no doubt that it'd be great. I'd love hearing his voice. I love Peter Dante. But that was the only time that they said, "Hey, Adam wants to come by and do the show." And I think it's because wasn't that the one that Rex Ryan was in?
Was that the one? I think you're right.
I believe that was the one that Rex Ryan had a part in.
Yes. Rex Ryan. Wait, he was Dan Patrick was also in it.
Well, Dan Patrick was in like 100 of them. Dan Patrick was in like every Adam Sandler movie.
He was Jim. It says Rex Ryan as Jim Nance. Is that right? No, that doesn't.
I thought Rex Ryan was just like Rex Ryan.
That's what I remember too.
I thought that was the case. Whatever. But Rex Ryan was in that film. So they said Adam wants to come by. Now, when Adam came by, it was like a mob scene coming with him because at the time he was still a Hollywood megastar. So Adam comes to your table, and if you don't know how the Radio Row thing works at the Super Bowl, these tables are like 3 feet away from each other. So there's no room, and yet 300 people descend upon you. And everybody's staring, and are you going to ask the wrong questions, and this whole thing. And it becomes nightmarish, where I'm just like, I don't even know if... I just want to talk to the guy about Chris Farley. That's all I want to do is have a 10-minute conversation with Adam Sandler about Chris Farley. Now, Adam Sandler was a nice enough guy, but he really put over... Because I remember asking a question like, dude, it's been a couple shaky ones in here. And he, like, personally sold me. He's like, dude, this is, if you like anything we've ever done, this is you're going to love this film.
He was promoting That's My Boy.
That's My Boy.
Okay.
Like, and I remember asking in a way, like, and this is after Jack and Jill, and
right.
Like, Adam, like, it's been a tough little stretch here.
It was
like,
Grown Ups, Jack and Jill.
Sell me
Grown
on.
Ups was good.
No, it wasn't. Made a lot of money though. It was
made a second one.
A hit.
I like that one
too. It was
too.
a hit at the box office. They were both atrocious.
No.
I said, tell me this is gonna be a little bit better, and he swore to me it was the best, like, Happy Madison movie ever made, and he might have even used that phrase. And I was like, all right, I'll watch it. And the fact that they it's so goddamn unforgivable that they led it all up to being an incest story. I've never been more furious that I spent time with a motion picture in my life. Like, it's so atrociously like, they did that whole thing and didn't say, like, maybe anything other than the story being about incest. Maybe anything but that. Maybe we handle this somehow so that that's not the thing and pretend like that's a wacky bit. It was so ungodly bad that there was no coming back for me. At that point, it was the end of the road. It was painfully unfunny to begin with. I mean, it was an unfunny film. And then that was what the big scene at the end of the film was, an incest storyline. Get the entire F out of here with that.
I guess I liked it because I was 12.
Get out. It was awful.
He named his son Han Solo.
So
that was funny.
So bad.
Moving along, Grown Ups 2 was the next year.
Bad.
He also produced Here Comes the Boom. Kevin James.
You know what's funny? I accidentally had to watch that movie, and I won't really give away the circumstances because it's pretty funny how I accidentally had to watch that movie.
Well,
it was.
Well, why can't you give it away?
Well, I've talked about this before.
Okay.
I've talked about it before. For those that don't know, I at one point had to serve a weekend in jail.
Oh, really?
I had a DUI, and I got the DUI in Arizona. I've talked about it openly. Arizona comes with a mandatory 10-day jail sentence, and it was an awkward circumstance, but I had to serve part of it here in Maryland in Baltimore County. And Here Comes the Boom was what the boys chose. Like, there was one TV for everybody to share, and they put on Here Comes the Boom. Well, there's nothing else to do.
So you watched it.
So I watched Here Comes the Boom. And maybe in the circumstances of it's this or nothing, I was like, this isn't... I have seen worse films. It's definitely not good. I cannot pretend like it was good in any way. It's theater of the absurd, but I don't know. By the standard of these Adam Sandler movies, it wasn't the worst film I've ever seen. And some of these are in the qualification, in the running. That's My Boy is absolutely in the running for the worst motion picture I've ever seen in my life. That one is not good, but it's not in that category. It's not in Jack and Jill territory. It's something above that again, doesn't cross the line. A Neil Diamond MMA flick is not what I thought I was sitting down to watch with the boys at the Baltimore County Corrections Center that night. Yes, I've told that story before, but
Okay.
we always have a new audience that comes along, and I don't know how much they know it. But yes, I got a DUI. That's why part of the reason I don't drink. It's why I'm so hell-bent whenever we get to a holiday weekend. When we get by the way, I don't think we're going to do a show on Friday this week. I think we're going to make it a 4-day weekend. But on Thursday, I'll end the show, and I'll hammer you about, like, I hate that I had to learn my lesson. I hate that. I hate that I put myself and others at risk in order to learn my lesson, but I sure as F learned my lesson, and it's something I never did again. And it's why whenever we talk about athletes, I understand. Like, people make mistakes once, and it's awful. But you get one, and you have to learn from it, or I have no, I wish that I would have never had to have learned my lesson. I wish that I would have understood from day one never to do it, but I sure as F learned my lesson, and it's why I'm absolutely all over everyone about it. I don't mess around with this. Do not. My wife gets furious with me because she'll have, like, 2 beers or 2 Angry Orchards, and I'll be like, I'm going to drive. And she'll say, I had 2 Angry Orchards. I said, you don't need to. I can drive. I had 0 Angry Orchards. Don't do it. Don't do it, period. But yes, the circumstances were that I watched Here Comes the Boom in a prison with other inmates.
Okay.
Yes, that's what happened.
Sounds like it might have been fun, yeah.
I mean, I remember one night we watched Here Comes the Boom. The next night we watched the Grammys. Like, that was the viewing schedule. Because it had to be like a general agreement.
Gotcha.
I remember that whatever the day was the Grammys were on, I also got the Maryland basketball game was that afternoon, so I was able to convince everyone. That was the only thing I fought for the weekend that I was I would like to watch the Maryland basketball game if possible, and they were agreeable to it. They were like, and Maryland was bad at the time, so I was like, oh no, I don't know if anybody's going to want to do this.
Did you happen to see Blended 2014? This is Drew Barrymore.
They
went to Africa.
I don't think I ever watched it from start to finish, but I think it's something that I've seen pop up on, like, USA over the years, and I've watched enough of it to know not a good film.
I mean, I don't know. I don't hate it.
It's not a good film.
Pixels? What was he?
Oh,
he was,
Pixels.
Yeah, Pixels.
God. Oh, what and that was still when they were trying to convince that, like, he could make a summer blockbuster, and it was years beyond any point at which he was capable of making a summer blockbuster.
There was a Paul Blart 2. I completely forgot
Why would there be?
about Paul Blart 2.
There used to be a proper country.
The Do-Over with David Spade.
Well, remind me what the Do-Over was, because I do vaguely remember
this. A comedy buddy action film. I also don't remember this one either.
Yeah.
The Do-Over.
I don't think there was anything there.
Right,
I don't think there was
just
anything
keep moving
there.
along.
Yep.
Catherine Hahn was in it.
Sure. Wait, Catherine, who was?
Catherine Hahn.
Hahn, okay.
Yes.
I thought you said Heigl for a second.
No,
I was like,
no. Then nothing. Yeah, 2017 looks like he took the year off. Sandy Wexler. I don't remember that one either.
I don't. Sandy Wexler, wasn't that the child? Wasn't that like a Nick Swardson movie about a child star? He would have been involved with, I'm sure, because Nick Swardson was part of his
Rob
little.
Schneider was in it. Terry Crews, Kevin James.
Nick
of course.
Swardson.
Oh, it was Netflix. It went straight to Netflix.
Nick Swardson joined the team like after it stunk. Poor Nick Swardson doesn't have any of the hits.
So,
like, he wasn't involved with any of the good movies. He only was involved with all of the dreadful crap movies that they made.
So 2016-17 was when he went to Netflix. So now all of his movies were Netflix, I guess, except for Uncut Gems.
Right.
And Murder Mystery in 2019. That's the one with Jennifer Aniston. They made a Murder Mystery 2, I think, earlier this year.
I sure as hell did not watch those.
Uncut Gems was 2019.
Again, I'm thinking Bucky Larson was the Nick Swardson movie, so I don't know what Sandy Wexler was.
Hubie Halloween.
Yeah, that's the one that, like, people try to swear to me was actually good. And there's just no chance. I can't do that to I don't hate myself enough to find out if people are right about this.
Is Home Team is that the Sean Payton? That's the Kevin James Sean Payton one.
Oh, God.
Home Team. He's a producer for that, of course. Christ. Murder Mystery 2, yes, earlier this year. And then You Are So Not Invited. You know what? Yeah, I mean, since
it's so bad, dude.
Of the ones I've seen since you went to Netflix, I would say, I guess,
Nick Swardson got in on Grandma's Boy, which Grandma's Boy was still fine, right? Like, that was still a good enough film, or at least it was fun enough. And then Nick Swardson's run was Click. You know, I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. Oh, you forgot you don't mess with the Zohan in there. You didn't mention that one, which is definitely a dreadful movie. Bedtime Stories, Bucky Larson, Born to Be a No, it wasn't. Jack and Jill, That's My Boy.
Bedtime Stories is a kid's
Nick
movie.
Swardson got none of the original run of all of the great films and only all of the garbage movies that Happy Madison made for the rest of their existence. Poor Nick. He was in Sandy Wexler too. What the hell was Sandy Wexler?
I'm coming more around to Bedtime Stories was great. They,
I'm not gonna spend any time with Bedtime Stories. I won't be doing that.
Wasn't
the wrong
Russell Brand was in it? He was great in it. Russell Brand was amazing.
The Wrong Missy was a Happy Madison film of some sort. I don't know anything about it. I can't pretend like it's something that I would watch.
Is either.
But I feel like somebody told me it might not be that bad, and I just no chance.
Give You Are So Not Invited My Bat Mitzvah a chance. I enjoyed it. You're not. I don't think you're gonna. Well,
gonna pass.
There's a lot of pop music in it. I like pop music. I'm not sure.
I like pop music too. If it's good, I don't.
They play. I mean, they just
if
play
it's Taylor
so much.
Swift, I'll pass.
They play so much where it's like a lot of it's like, oh yeah, and then they play one where it's like, I don't know what this is, and you're just kind of waiting.
All right, this is.
But they play it.
That's this portion of the program. If you have not picked up the print issue of Press Box yet, go get it today at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box, or read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Lamar Jackson cover story from Bo Smolka, all about the contract era for Lamar Jackson. Again, go get it right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Tidbit. I actually have something for Tidbit today. Tidbit of the day brought to you today by Superbook. Use the code GlennClark23. I would have told you to bet on Matteo Berrettini. He's already up a set against Humbert, the 29th seed at the U.S. Open. I don't know if you can still get the right odds in order to make it qualify, but if you can, I would do it. I like Matteo Berrettini today. Go to Superbook.com, download the Superbook app, use the code GlennClark23, and your first bet will be matched up to $250, win or lose with Superbook. What you got?
Mookie Betts homered again. He is the second player now in MLB history with consecutive seasons of 35 home runs or more as the leadoff hitter. He joins this player who did it in 2002 and 2003.
We're doing this. You're removing stolen bases, but it's the same concept.
I know. Well, it's a quick one.
And when? What
2002
year?
and 2003, this leadoff hitter.
2002? Soriano?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Alfonso Soriano.
Yeah.
With his next home run, Ronald Acuna will become the first player in MLB history to join the 30-60 club. He's at 29 home runs. For what it's worth, he is the first 29-60.
No, there you
as
go.
well.
Congratulations.
But yeah, so Acuna.
And that means that everybody has to run out on the field to try to say hello to.
Man.
God, what a weird.
That was
everything about
wild.
that was so bizarre, man.
Julio Rodriguez is he's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I hear he's good.
5 4+ hit games are the most by any player in a 10-game span. He had.
It is weird
again.
to me that they moved in the first place and nobody really noticed.
It was let's see, the Orioles won the series against them, and then
yes.
have they not lost? I guess they've lost since, but
yeah, they've been on fire.
Julio has 28 hits in that 10-game span. It's the most.
This is what happens when we don't do this week in the rest of baseball.
Yeah, we forget what happens.
I thought we were supposed to have an intern this semester. I got to figure out who that was supposed to be. We might need another intern because we might not have an intern. I'm not sure what's going on. I thought in the summer I lined up an intern, but I've already forgotten what his name was.
I think I might.
It was somebody who didn't like sports.
I think I might remember who it is.
Okay.
I shouldn't just say his name, I guess.
No, but you can check in.
Okay.
You could do that. But we might need another intern because we definitely need somebody to do the TikTok page because nobody's doing it right now, and we're falling behind, and we're doing no original TikTok content unless Carson started doing the AMSR old-timey baseball names.
Oh, yeah.
And he was supposed to tell us if he was starting that. Find out what's going on with that, too.
Okay.
Those are your 2 assignments. Track down our intern.
Carson.
Find out when Carson's going to do the AMSR baseball names. And if you know someone who's looking for an internship and would like to talk about terrible Adam Sandler movies, GlennClarkRadio@gmail.com. We are in the market for interns. If it's a formal internship, it must be for credit. If I'm willing to, Grant, for the example this summer, have somebody come in, maybe once a week. If it's just trying to get their foot in the door, I'm willing to do that, but it can't do much more than that if it's not a formal internship. So GlennClarkRadio@gmail.com if you know somebody who needs an internship for the fall.
28 hits in a 10-game span are the second most ever. Wait, let me restart here. Most by a player in a 10-game span since 1997. Who did it in 1997 had 28 hits in the 10-game span. Yeah.
97? Derek Jeter.
Not Derek Jeter. I guess I'll just give it to you. It was Kenny Lofton.
Oh, I love Kenny Lofton.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known that. That's awesome.
Kenny Lofton is who Julio joins.
Obsessed Kenny Lofton.
The only other player, you'll love this one, the only other player with more hits in a 10-game span, 28 or more in 1933, Heine Manush.
Oh, Heine! That was my next guess.
Heine Manush.
God, I love. Please make sure that that Heine Manush shows up in the first AMSR Old Timey Baseball names.
Okay.
Please make sure he includes Heine Manush in that.
And then Jay Kuda helps me with my Jay Kuda helps me with my last one here. He had he tweeted out the top 10 active. Well, with Strasburg retiring, he is of course not in the top 10 active home run leaders by number 1 overall picks.
Number
1 overall pick. Can you rank who has the most home runs?
How many home runs they've hit?
Yes.
And Steven Strasburg would have been on that list.
Yes, because with 4, but he retired. So.
Oh, then I'm not sure that I can. If we're talking about other players that have hit 4 or
active number 1 picks, who has the most home runs?
That means that Adley Rutschman's on the list.
He is on the list. Yes, he has 29.
Where does that put him on the list?
That will put him. So there's 2 guys that I'm trying to figure out. There's 2 guys that are technically haven't retired yet.
Technically haven't retired.
And they would, but they're technically not active because they're not on a roster either. So I'll say that they're unactive. So that would put Adley at 5th.
Unactive.
If they're active, Adley would be 7th.
This is really weird, man.
Well, it's number 1 overall picks, most home runs.
Okay, well, I just gotta start naming number 1 picks then. How about Bryce Harper?
Yes, Bryce Harper is number 1, 298. Unless this guy who was drafted in 2005 is the number 1 overall pick. He last played for the Mariners last year, and he has not been.
Justin Upton?
Justin Upton.
He's not active. I can't believe he played last year, though. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, he played for I think half a month or something with the Mariners.
I don't remember that even a little bit.
He has 325, so he would be number 1, but yeah, as you say, inactive. So Harper is the number 1.
Okay. There's a lot of Dansby Swanson was a number 1 pick.
Dansby Swanson is top 3, 121. Harper, second.
Carlos Correa was a number 1 pick.
Carlos Correa with 171. So Harper, Correa, Swanson, Adley is 5th.
Now it's a bunch of pitchers. So is that
the
bit?
No, there's one more pitcher. Yeah.
Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole was 10th. With 3 home runs in his career.
I genuinely don't remember who the next couple of number 1 picks.
They would all be.
Spencer Torkelson was a number 1
Spencer
pick.
Torkelson has 31, so he is 2 ahead of Adley. So that's your top 5.
And Henry Davis made it the major
Henry
leagues.
Davis has 5 home runs. 2 more. Guy that almost flamed out was the 2016 and 2017 number 1 overall picks are the next 2.
I don't, and that's the thing. I'm totally blanking on who those guys were. An era where the Orioles weren't picking that high, and
one is currently with the Angels. Was not drafted by the Angels. The other one is currently with the Twins, who he was drafted by.
It wasn't Kadire. It wasn't. God, that's gonna drive me nuts. Currently with the current Twins. Buxton wasn't a number 1 overall pick.
No, he wasn't.
Hey.
I believe he debuted this year, or I debuted at the end of last year. Yeah, debuted last year.
Give me a position.
He is a infielder, shortstop.
Oh, Royce Lewis.
Royce Lewis has 10 home runs. And finally, the
Angel.
He's an Angel drafted by the Phillies. In 2016.
Give me a position.
He is also he's an outfielder.
Well, it's not Trout.
It's not Mike Trout. It looked like his career was going to be over before he went over to the Angels.
I don't remember.
Mickey Moniak.
Mickey Moniak
has 17 home runs this season. Yeah.
We could have been here for a minute.
Tim Beckham would be the other one who played last year but has not been picked up since.
Beckham's still in.
He has 63 home runs, so he would be 4th if you considered him active.
He's not. That's a weird list, bro. Really weird list.
It's a fun one.
Jamison Hensley tweeted this yesterday. Under John Harbaugh, the Ravens are 14-2, an .875 winning percentage when playing against rookie starting quarterbacks in Baltimore.
Lock
of course,
in.
As we know, the Ravens will open the season against C.J. Stroud, a rookie starting quarterback for the Houston Texans. So my question for you, Griffin, who are the 2 rookie quarterbacks who beat the Ravens at home?
Oh, man. Who beat
I had to go to the comments.
This is under
I had
Harbaugh?
to go to the comments again because that's all I could think of. And no offense to Jameson, God bless him, Ravens beat writer for ESPN, would have been good information to share when you shared this tidbit. Would have been nice to know.
Well, now I want everybody to guess. So this is under Harbaugh?
Under John Harbaugh. Under John Harbaugh, the Ravens are 14-2 when playing against rookie starting quarterbacks in Baltimore. Who are the two?
Jeez. Gosh. Who came into Baltimore and beat the Ravens?
I remember, for what it's worth, I remembered. I didn't get either one of them. Afterwards I remembered some of the details of them.
Did they lose to the Bears?
They did lose to
So
the Bears.
was Mitch Trubisky?
Mitchell Trubisky was indeed in 2017. The only thing I remember from that game was Adrian Amos' interception return for a touchdown because it was a Baltimore guy, and that kind of changed everything.
Barely remember that game. I must not have been able to watch it. And then
It was an overtime win for the Bears that day.
And then the other one, jeez. Well, that was 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Was it before or after? I guess it was before, since I can't think of it. Gosh, I'm trying to think of good rookies. Just thinking, did they? No, because I guess Andrew Luck was the playoff game, was the only time he came here. So not Andrew Luck. Oh, no, that was in Washington.
Robert Griffin III,
yeah. Just because they were kind of good, I guess. We always beat the Bucks, so not Jameis. Not Mariota.
A game that happened on New Year's Day.
New Year's Day.
Happened on New Year's Day.
Joe Burrow?
Not Joe Burrow.
Kenny Pickett.
What have I told you to happen on New Year's Day 2023?
Yeah, Kenny Pickett came into Baltimore.
Kenny Pickett.
Week 17.
Exactly
Week 17.
Right. Those are the two. I struggle with it too, man.
Yeah.
I struggle with it too. Here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise. Tubular is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. For some reason, despite the fact that the Orioles were on Masson 2 last night and the Nationals are playing, they go to Masson tonight. I don't understand this week. Masson 2 last night, Masson tonight, Masson 2 tomorrow night. Makes no bloody sense. White Sox Orioles 7 o'clock. Jesse Schultens and Dean Kramer, the pitching matchup.
The pissing matchup.
Yes. U.S. Open coverage throughout the day on ESPN. Tonight, the primetime matches are Venus Williams and Carlos Alcaraz's openers. Baseball the rest of the day. You can find it at glennclarkradio.com. Minnesota Lynx, Washington Mystics at 7 on NBA TV and NBC Sports Washington. CBS Sports Network has Phoenix Mercury, Atlanta Dream at 7, Chicago Sky, LA Sparks at 10. The USA Network for WWE NXT at 8. Some non-sports highlights?
Not a whole lot. Well, it is Hard Knocks night on HBO at 10 o'clock, episode 4.
How many more are there?
There's one more next Tuesday.
Okay.
Then a new episode of Only Murders and a new episode at 9 o'clock on Disney+.
I guess it's time for me to finally start Only Murders.
Yeah, I guess so.
This is the fifth
episode.
All right.
This is the 5th episode. I haven't started yet either. Decided to watch the bat mitzvah.
Yeah, it's very important. You couldn't miss out on that. Well, the problem for me this week is I'll be watching tennis. That's what's going to be going on in my life. Is I'll be watching tennis.
You can start Ahsoka too, then.
I'm good.
I think you have to. You should probably watch the Rebel series.
Yeah,
before.
probably should. I tell you what. I promise that as soon as I finish the Rebel series,
you'll watch Ahsoka.
I'll start Ahsoka.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Whatever
I'm
day
glad.
in my life I finish the Rebel series, I'll start Ahsoka.
And you,
right?
trust me,
And
you will, because once you finish that, you're gonna be like, what's happening next?
Yeah, gotta do that.
Ahsoka.
Very good. All right, thanks today to Gregg Rosenthal. Thanks also today to Nathan Ruiz, as well as to our friend Gavin Sheets. We'll get it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh my God, it's so good.
tab at glennclarkradio.com. Tomorrow on the program.
Tomorrow we will go to Aberdeen, catch up with Logan Reinhart, who came over in that Seattle trade at the deadline, and he hasn't a lot of run since he joined the Ironbirds.
All right.
Greg Olson as well.
I love Greg Olson.
Now the Orioles broadcast booth.
Yeah, I didn't realize when I told Griffin to call Greg Olson just because he'd be a good person to talk about the bullpen with the Felix Bautista injury, and I had no clue that he was working the games.
I figured that's why he told me.
No, I had no idea.
Well, because when he showed up last night, I was like,
I had no idea that he was working the games. Just thought it'd be a good person to talk about the bullpen. That's all.
And then I guess Drew, right? Or unless you don't want
to. Let's see what our other options are.
Okay.
All right. Let's see what we're trying to pack a lot of things into a short amount of time because I'm making it a 4-day week. So let's see what our options are before we commit to anything there. What the hell are we going to talk about with Drew? Victor Hovland.
Yeah, apparently he did something cool, right?
He won money. He won a bunch of money. It's today when they I swear to God, Drew has somehow made 3 months worth of Ryder Cup conversation.
He just keeps mentioning it every time.
I swear, but it's not just here. I happened to listen to the golf show on the way into doing my show the other day.
Right?
But did people care that much about who picked for the Ryder Cup? It's
I guess golf people do, yeah.
Nobody cares that much about who's picked for the U.S. to talk about it for 3 months. It's very weird. Very weird.
Jake Funk was waived by the Colts.
I do like me some Jake Funk. He's a great.
Bradley
guy.
Roby.
Once had 7 touchdowns in a game, at Damascus.
Yeah. Bradley Roby was released by the Saints. So.
Okay, that's
Well,
definitely
cornerback.
a veteran cornerback.
Yeah.
I don't know that
Fits
he's
the
the
bill.
answer, but he does play the position. You're right about that. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including just gonna start naming every cornerback.
Malcolm Butler.
I want to keep a live camera on Griffin today. He's just gonna name all of the cornerbacks that are being released, and then shrugging his shoulders. That's all we're gonna do.
Yeah, you mean
we're gonna have.
He could probably play.
Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners. Visit
Is he
Baltimore.
really worse than Kevon Seymour?
I don't know. Visit Baltimore. Live Casino and Hotel, the Maryland 5-Star, Glory Days Grill, Dorchester County, the Bowie Bay Sox, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Superbook Sports, the Baltimore Orioles, Birdland Sports, Easy Pass MD, Washington County, the Maryland Cycling Classic, your local Toyota dealer, and buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin _. What? Another one?
Will Lutz was traded to the Broncos to reunite with Sean
Breaking
Payton.
news. These are the moments that we live for. Follow him under. I really think that all day on Twitter, whenever a cornerback's getting released, you should just retweet it with the shrug emoji.
Okay.
I really wish that you would do that all day.
Why not?
Just every cornerback that you see is released, shrug emoji. Nothing else. Or take a picture of yourself shrugging. That would be even better. I would like for you to do content today. That would be wonderful. All right.
Use the same picture every time.
I would really like it. I would really like it if you did that, actually. If you want to do it from our account, you can do it from our account. It's good content.
All right.
I'm not opposed to it. Follow him on Twitter at Griffin _Bass. Follow us at Glenn Clark Radio. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Birds. Duke sucks.